Hello and good evening. Welcome to Flat Earth and Chat and Talk with Hillbilly, Robert Shortman, Martin Porter, Ruben,
Hey,
and
hey.
Antonio. He's just dropped off, but he'll be back.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good, good.
Hey, Robert. Thanks for having us on.
That's a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
getting on to that, what we were talking about just before it went live, we were discussing this event that they're doing in Manchester at the moment, and whenever they do these simulation events or training events, which they call them, many times there's always been the situation of actual events concurring after these things happen, and it's that is why we need. I'm putting the information out now, so if something and there is a pre-training event to this, then this will all be recorded and it will be there as a warning to other people because this stuff does happen and it's happened many times before and not necessarily people have recorded it before it happens.
Yeah.
So this is a good time to bring it up.
7.7's a good example of that. There's a recording online you can find where a gentleman says, oh, this is part of a training simulation, and someone actually took our training simulation and made it active. And it's like, no.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got the information from Dabu77. That's where because I don't watch the news and don't listen to the news, therefore I'll get it through a party that I know it's just be one piece of information that's not going to be filled full of rubbish and spin and propaganda. It'll just basically say what it is, and that's what it is, and that's happening tonight. So if you're in Manchester area and you see helicopters flying over, don't be surprised because that is.
Crisis actors running around.
Yeah, they've not declared what they said they were going to declare what situation and what the actual scenario of the event was, but I haven't dug deeper and I'm not looked through the news, so no idea at the moment.
Yeah. Watch this space.
Yeah.
Nobody can argue the fact that they're pretty blatant about these training exercises of same case scenarios. As we witnessed Cynthia McKinney drill the Secretary of Defense at the time, Donald Rumsfeld, along with General Myers, they fully admitted there was 6 war games going on the day of September. Sandy Hook is my real forte, and as we can see on Sandy Hook, we got the actual FEMA documents of a drill of a school shooting for kids to be involved just 20 miles down the road from the event. As we look at the FEMA document, it's called the activation drill, the format that's laid down in it, and look at what we witnessed in Sandy Hook. It's verbatim. They followed this script to the T. So these drills going on at the exact same time is no coincidence. It's planned.
No, that's why I thought I'd mention it, because mentioning it live and getting it out on a hangout is another way of getting it before the event, if any event happens, and then they can say, oh well, you've actually trained for this. I recorded it live. You're putting it in the newspaper, and then something happens. That's more than a coincidence. If you knew something was going to happen, a training exercise is not what you need to do. You need to mobilise the army and get everybody in there to get everybody out and sort the situation out, not stage an event, which is what they do many times.
Yeah.
They do a training for the event, they get the actors all prepped and do like a rehearsal, and then they go for the next day they actually go for the live action shots.
Yeah.
That's what it seems, because many times they've had loads of these crisis actors in, and you can see them. You can see all the they put various links in these web articles, for these actors to apply, and then you read through it and you think, wow. So yeah, they discreetly ask for people to come and do these events, and even in places like Cambridge, they used to do events like that. Nothing ever transpired from it, but they still did these crisis events, at Marshall's Airport. And when I was younger, in the air training corps, they used to take part in it. So I'd go along. This was in the airport. They'd close it all down, the whole airport, set up in an evening. They'd wheel out one of the old plane wrecks, you know, and it's got all seats and everything in it. You would go into the area, and all the medical teams and all the fire brigade and everything else is all set up ready for the event. And you get, you know, all line up. You get given a card, and on that card has all the medical symptoms that you're going to be having, you know, so whether it's this and that and other things. And then that will in turn, that's what you've got to play. You've got to play those injuries. So if you've got like a scar, they'll make a scar on you. If you've got a broken back, you know, you can't walk, can't move, you'll just be sitting there. And, you know, so I actually took part in one of these events, and, you know, many years ago, and, you know, they go on, but what it is they, in recent years, they've actually kind of thought, well, this is a great way of getting the event going in the actual area, and actually either simulating it before so people think nothing of it, or doing that so they can prep themselves in advance of doing it.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, they seem to have banks of footage now, don't they? Because they're just making films. They've trained us all on movies, haven't they? We grew up watching movies, whether it was shuttle movies, moon landing movies. Everything's a movie, so they're just making stock footage, aren't they, to use? Every training exercise stock footage they can use. 6 months later, everyone's forgotten.
That's right.
Noticed them doing this in some of the American ones, using old footage.
They just use that footage
lazy.
then to... Yeah, it's a lazy way of doing it, but they keep repeating it, and the people that sleep still don't wake up to this. You know, they think, oh, it's another event going on, and or they're completely unaware that the training event's happening because they're not going to put it in the news. They're not going to really publicise it much, and for the fact they're not allowing the information to say what type of event it is, so whether it's a terrorist, you know, chemical attack, nuclear attack, anything like that, you know, a bomb, they're not classifying, they're not you know, actually saying what it is before that when people have requested the information. They say, oh, we'll release it on the day we're doing it. You know, that's again, that's so they can hide the fact of what simulation they're going to try and do, or suspected event they think is going to happen.
Yeah, gives them more options, doesn't it?
I mean, Sandy Hook, I mean, they must have done a similar thing and had it all planned out way in advance of that.
Well, if you look at the site activation drill that they had for the drill right down the street, they do have a date on it of 10, I can't remember if it's October 8th or October 2nd. I could, if anybody wanted clarification, I got the actual document. But, you know, a lot of people go down. That's the reason we didn't see J-Helm progress a lot further. Because J-Helm exercise could have been turned into a false flag event at any given moment, you know. But the fact that it had so much meat is the reason why a lot of people turn into that event.
Yeah. Hillbilly, what do you think about Newtown itself? Do you think, because there seems to be lots of people planted in that place for a long time, what's your feeling about that? Some people think it's a whole, you know, just a whole Luciferian town, or, you know, what do you think about that?
I get a little bit uncomfortable going outside the report because I don't have to worry about credibility getting lost, but I've got no problem expressing opinions as long as I specify ahead of time. Free headlines can show you Newtown recorded minutes from their city halls, the uranium stories that go all the way back to 2001, their connection with DuPont, Goodyear. I mean, it's no coincidence. The hospital, it seems like the Methodist Church has a big play in there too. Not only does St. Rose have a play in it, but the Methodist Church. But if I had to sum Newtown up in a small phrase, a bunch of criminals. After all, we're talking about an area to where somehow people can get courthouses open on Christmas Day to do title transfers. That is not one of the bogus stories out there. That actually happened. Court records are public records, and anybody can go check it out. When we got houses transferred for $1, and we see that that the transfer happened on Christmas Day. I can't get the courthouse open on Christmas Day. You can't get the courthouse open on Christmas Day. So only the corrupt can get the courthouse. Only the bank robber can get the safe open after hours. You know, it stands to reason. So when Dr. Carver said, I hope this does not come to fall on the heads of the people of Newtown, we know exactly what he meant. That's why we see Jonathan Rice, or Richie Rice, excuse me, like Rice staff fires, get demonized and labeled a criminal for a simple actions of saying, we were owed an explanation. What did you mean by that, this particular term? I hope it doesn't come to fall on the heads of the people of Newtown. Because as we see the aspects of visitors just going visiting town, you go there, you get the cold shoulder. Just say the word Sandy Hook, and the police is at your looking over your shoulders. We've seen what happened to Wolfgang Halibitz's visit to a Catholic church. Here's a Catholic man, a senior citizen, getting bullied like this in Newtown, Connecticut. It's a town of intimidation.
Oh.
I mean, they do that to many people. Soon as expose any event like that and try and make it public, they'll do anything in their power to try and shut that person down.
Wow.
And they kind of succeed, you know, because they can, you know, if you've got kids, they can do something to your kids. You know, if you've got a house, they can try and pull something on your house. You know, do you end up paying for something, or you end up having no house because of what they do? Well, you know, or they'll get you through the criminal side, which is the other way that they do it. You know, which is make everyone poor, make people strive, and then get you into that system anyway. So it's kind of vicious circle to lock you in. They love to push that. I mean, it's just a joke how much they kind of upset people and actually get them to act like that and get them to respond like that. And that's really what they want. So, you know, if you're in a fearful society and you have to strive for everything you do, I think the way to get out of that is to, you know, it's these people that are actually pushing this in the first place, and it's people power that will do it. It's nothing else that will do it. It's everyone grouping together and saying, no, we're not putting up with that. We'll do something different, thank you.
Yeah.
And what it is there's not enough people doing that, and that's why there's not enough action, and everyone just lets it go.
People get stuck trying to solve things through the courts, through the governments. You know, solving things on the same level, which is just it's an eternal wheel, isn't it? It's there to send you round in a circle.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, what pushes it and pushes all the lies of the media and the news, and that's where the main propaganda and all that comes from. It doesn't come from anywhere else. It doesn't come from the government. They don't put out the propaganda. They're told what to put out, and the media is what does it. So the more people that don't watch the news, that would be the key to doing it, and don't watch the television.
Well, not only are they not told what propaganda to put out, they're having their legend informed by the corporations or the cronyism that we see going on. That's the shame of it. You know, when we say that we can do this in a court, it's like saying we're going to let the bank robber investigate the bank robbery. It just ain't going to work. I mean,
never.
Yeah.
Guys, can you give me over 10 minutes? I'll be back. I'm just going to have dinner.
Yep.
Give me 10 minutes. I'll be back.
Speak to you in a bit.
Cool.
We forgot the ideology that oversight is our job. You know, we're allowing them to police themselves. That's our job. Their job to police us, our job to police them. That's the only way you're going to have checks and balances.
That's the only way it would check and balance it, and that's well out at the moment, and it's all in their favour and nothing's in ours because we're not actually stood up for it. And the reason is because of education and because we're not taught anything political. We're not taught anything correct that we need to know in law and all that, and because we're not taught that, no one knows and no one can resist to actually say, well, I know my rights, this is wrong, we're going to stand up for these rights and refuse to do what you say.
You want to find your rights, you've got to dig really.
They don't want people knowing them anymore. That's why the legalese is like, speaking legalese is like spreading a witch's brew or a witch's whatever you call it, you know?
A curse, yeah, a curse.
It took me a long time to figure out the legalese. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And once you figure it out, you can see the legislative slavery behind it.
Yeah. Whenever they want to occult something, whenever they want to hide something, they always use their own language, don't they? They've done it with science.
Yeah.
Adding zeros on things and using fancy words. And they do it with the law, with legalese, which is its own language in its own right. You know, they're very good at this.
Yeah, oh, too right.
Then when you bring up points of law like such as corpus delicti, the element of the crime, one of the three elements has to be met. People, your neighbor, people on the internet. Oh, you're one of them conspiracy nuts. You got one of them words I never heard of before. Go open up any law dictionary, except for the law dictionary lawyers are graduating from college with now, called the Essentials of Law. Yeah, it's corporate law. It's corporate procedure. It's not true law. They teach corporate procedure. The program, by the time they come out with their so-called degree, yeah, a degree programmed.
I don't know. They do it on purpose. They do it.
I know.
And it kind of limits you, so you don't actually their side of it, not the true side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we live in a world of statute law, don't we?
Well, it's the legislative slave. Let's not forget, when it comes down to it, statute law is a corporate law to where you have to be a member of the corporation, just like your employer. When you go and he could have some funny rule that he mandates that you follow. Say he's got a rule that you're not allowed to be caught in a break room before 10 o'clock or you're fired. Well, if you get caught in the break room, you agree to be hired there, you get caught in the break room before 10 o'clock, your employer's within his rights to fire you. I mean, it's just that simple. It's an agreement. You entered into an agreement. Well, I don't consent when that piece of legislation takes away my freedom of choice. My freedom of choice must trump their legislative statute law. And as we look around, there's a lot of aspects throughout this that where your freedom of choice, they'll tell you still have it, but it comes by means of intimidation. Do this or else. We will tax you in the form of a fine. A fine is a tax, you know?
Okay,
yeah.
Great. Yeah.
I don't know. You guys don't want me getting fired up on this one. Yeah, I'll go full-blown hillbilly on you.
It's all to do with it's the straw man laws, isn't it? Your straw man you're given when you're born.
Yeah.
That we all acquiesce to without knowing.
Well, once you get once you get it figured out and realize that altogether there is three entities altogether, the administrator, the trustee, and the beneficiary, and figure out that you want to hold two of those titles. If they want to be the trustee, by all means, let them be the trustee. The trustee is the person that goes sits in jail, you know? So by all means. But the problem is we need to educate people and go ahead and demand these jury trials, quit easing up or giving into what I call comfortable fines. If you're willing to pay a comfortable fine, then you're saying I'm willing to be a slave. I understand that, you know, let's take a simple parking ticket, for example. Okay, I could pay not miss $50 worth of wages that day in work, not miss the follow-up day's work for because I got an arraignment, I got a pre-trial, I got a trial, and then, you know, the expenses in between, and if I'm going to hire a lawyer, well, hell, $50, that wasn't too bad. Here you go, I'm a legislative slave. So they make the fines comfortable. We live in a disposable world with comfortable fines.
Yeah, because it's a racket. Everything's a corporation, isn't it? When you look, everything's registered as a corporation. You know, all corporations work to the same mantra.
I've got no problem with the format of a corporation, just two guys collectively getting together and putting their money together. Where the problem comes in is cronyism that can be found under the labels of corporations, hence capitalism. There's nothing wrong with capitalism. There's nothing wrong with two guys forming their own, they're combining their money and forming a corporation and having a successful business. I want to do it. You want to do it. You want to buy low and sell as high as the market will bear. That's good practice. What we got now is the elimination of the competition of that very rule under the means of cronyism. I mean, Congress writing laws like look at Walmart getting the exclusion from the Affordable Health Care Act. Yeah, mom and pop, they got to let 3 employees go just so they can pay affordable health care insurance for the 1 employee they was lucky enough to keep.
It's incredible, yeah.
Excuse me, Mr. Hillbilly wants to say something to me.
Okay. So yeah, Martin, Crystal talk now. I wanna go over the. I'll just have a look. Let me bring this up. Do that. I want to bring up the thing we were speaking about, the Moldavite and the other one. What was that called?
Oh, the
Libyan desert glass.
Oh yeah, glassification of.
So Libyan desert glass and the Moldavite, and those two of that went through the glassification period, because then that will lead us on to, you know, the ancient technology which we were speaking about the other day, which is quite interesting with, you know.
Yeah, well, we've had a few good afternoons, haven't we? Discovering some weird, wonderful things about magnetism and crystals and all sorts.
Yeah.
And yeah, Moldavite was one thing we came across, wasn't it? Very considered highly energetic, high frequency stones, found in only certain areas, desert areas on the plain, similar to areas of glassified desert. So really extreme heat at some point in time is strong enough to glassify the desert and vitrify forts as well. It's another thing we were looking at, revisiting. Scotland's got probably about half the vitrified forts on the plain that have been discovered. So it seems there's some extreme heat that was melting stone back there. Just two different schools of thought, whether it was either cometry or ancient nuclear war or something else, maybe. But yeah, we see very strange areas like this, very strange geological features and crystals they can't explain. Tektites is another one, all put down to impact and the cometry. With the flat Earth perspective, we know that's not really You know, there's not big boulders coming in from infinite space without dinosaurs. So, yeah, just a few more mysteries that the ancients seem to have solved. That, we're left to undo the riddle.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting, especially with the fact that a lot of these materials, you know, they're not cheap, are they? Those type of supposed meteorites or glass that's heated up from that impact. Now,
Yeah,
if we're saying that impact, then the most likely thing would, if something had come from above, it's likely come from the dome or within the firmament, or an object within the firmament. So something that's within that position. You know, if we're assuming that the sun and the moon are within that, or something is within that, then it could have been from that type of object. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, there are biblical references to these are type of events, and then you're physically finding this glass. But again, the interesting thing is, because they've hidden so many facts about crystals and all the powers that you can get from natural things on the earth, you know, simple things like water. Believe it or not, water hammer, if you can compress water and get it to reverberate the right frequency, you can actually create a device that would make a perpetual machine. Now, what was the name of the chap that
that's one of John Keely's devices. John Moy Keely invented well, they didn't know what it was. They found it in a museum. They weren't sure how it worked or what it did for a long time, and then someone put water in it. A guy called Dale Pond, extremely good alternative engineer. And yeah, the Keely water implosion device basically runs no moving parts, basically pressurizes water, retunes water, actually, even though it's a mechanical device, can actually microwave the water. So what Keely was experimenting with, it was sympathetic vibratory physics thing. So everything's got a vibration, and you just have to find something that sympathetically vibrates with that to harness the power. So water's a good medium, air, all the elements can be used in a sympathetic vibration.
I mean, the amount of times I've been in houses doing plumbing where people have had frequency problems through water hammer, and what that is even with the water static, they were getting reverberation through the pipework that was, you know, actually causing like harmonic frequencies. So you can replicate this, and this chap was clever enough to make this copper and steel device that, you know, had a few pistons on it, and then various chambers where it did all the exchange. And the main design of it is its integral design was water. You can't operate with water, so it's like a human body that has blood and water in it. It was actually part of the machine, and as soon as the water is extracted, the machine is useless. It only becomes fully functional with all the components operating once there's water added to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that was just a really interesting thing. And again, where is it? It's in a museum that they say it doesn't work or do anything. But the fact that when they tried to test it, they put some water in and it started functioning.
Yeah. I mean, Del Pond said it literally came to life when he added the water. It just started moving because he thought it would run on water. He took a guess, put water in it, and it started working. So yeah, I mean, it's incredible. It's water hammer, like you say, and it uses implosion vortexes rhythmically crashing into each other to create other fields, and then on the other side it's got a little ball which splits the water, and then it microwaves it into what Keely called etheric vapor. So it's basically taking water vapor, splitting it to a smaller stage, so it becomes this basically ether technology. So it's got some amazing properties. I recommend anyone to look at John Keely's work or Dale Pond, both fantastic stuff. Water implosion. For me, all the ancient technologies were working on the same things, which is the four elements, and all they're really doing, I think, is harnessing the four elements. Pyramids is basically geoacupuncture. Things like water implosion, copying the vortex. copying nature's cavitation, and you can do similar things with air as well. So yeah, simple stuff.
Well, we also were discussing the difference between propeller and impeller, and how they actually use the geometry and shape of a tornado vortex, and the chap captured it in with some kind of high-speed camera and actually mapped it 3D, copied the shape of that, and then printed it onto with a 3D printer the shape of the impeller, and then used that impeller to do some incredible work. I mean, I think it was a thing that was the size of a small room to stir this 10 million gallon tank of water, and his device, I think it operated of 12 volts, and it was the size of a shoebox with the impeller thing turning on it, and it did exactly the same job. So it was as efficient as that. So
yeah,
why they wouldn't use that on technology as windmills, as water turbines, as anything like that, that pushing water to get 30 to 50% increase efficiency and reducing the electric bill. The reason they don't want you to do that is, again, they don't let free energy devices out.
yeah,
It's because they want the money for the things that they're producing. So if they're producing electric, they want all the money for it. So the more electric you can use, the more gas you can use, and the less efficient the actual appliance is, the better it is for their pocket. And I mean, they win every time with that, because the technology is limited on purpose, and it's restricted on purpose because of that reason. They want you to pay more, the same as they want you to consume, buy, and do everything else that they push in society.
yeah. So again, linked to the corporate model, so everything's corporatized. So no corporation wants your bills to go down. No corporation wants you to buy less of their stuff. So General Electric and Centrica aren't out there desperately trying to get green energies going to get your bills down. It's just not happening.
No,
Otherwise, wind farms would be impeller instead of propeller. We've got 2D flat propellers in all our fans, and if we just simply bent the fans a little bit, we can have impellers, and again use the air in the nature's vortex to make them at least a third more efficient.
I mean,
So,
they took the example. They took the propeller off and put the impeller on fans, and it was average of 30% more efficient on all the fans they did it on. So that that is the reason they're not doing it, not because of technology and not because of design, because of restrictions, and because they want to push the same thing out and keep it with the same basic technology, the same as we've got petrol cars, and we're not using free energy cars that just run off water, produce carbon dioxide.
yeah, water we can do so much with water. We can run our cars on it for a start, but it's the tip of the iceberg. It really is.
It is, and it's the same with all elements and the elements that we don't know about that they say doesn't exist but do. The same as all the other facts that we realise with flat Earth compared to what we knew before that. There's a huge amount of misconception of knowledge that we're starting to bridge and close gaps on that, and it helps with finding out.
Yeah, yeah. All the answers are in the past. We've just got to have a real history to go through. But really, history's been occulted better than anything. So it's a bit like flat Earth. It's synthetic time, and you've got to really use your eyes to find history. Use your eyes and your intuition, because the books and the timelines aren't going to really help you. They're just going to confuse things. But the heresy that pyramids are tombs, for one. This is a ridiculous thing that's still taught in school, and these are clearly machines. Pyramid, fire in the middle.
Absolutely. I mean, the design of the base of the pyramid is a thing called a hydraulic pump, and you can actually physically make a hydraulic pump just with water differentials and pipes, and they use this type of device. It was more than what they say the pyramid is, and it certainly wasn't a tomb. It was a place of like an energy accumulation, or a thing that would actually send energy out from that. But the way it was designed is more than just one device within that, and they knew that, and that's a lot why that is why a lot of the programs that you see on the television don't say what happened in the pyramids, and it's all contrived by the Egyptian government, and any artifacts and anything that's deemed value are hidden away way in advance of the public, so you don't know what's happening. All they do is show you the coffins that are, extracted from sarcophagus is not located anywhere near these pyramids, and then they try and say, it's from there. That's this is where it's linked to. But there is
Because there's a long square box in one of them. It must have been a sarcophagus. I mean, that's about as far as the logic goes. Forget the Valley of the Kings where they found all the tombs. Don't worry about that.
No, they try to mislead everybody with a lot of things.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, they're still trying to keep a lid on Bosnian pyramid. I mean, this is where the real conspiracy theorist in you gets going, because you look at a lot of alternative researchers and they don't give any credence to the Bosnian pyramid, which is, Sam Osmanaginovich has been there years, over 10 years now. I mean, some amazing studies, amazing excavations, volunteers throughout the summer every year, totally prove an artificial structure, one of at least 3 in that valley. And yet people like Graham Hancock and Hatcher Childress say there's nothing to see there, because all the alternative researchers are running around Göbekli Tepe.
Yes, that's
so
interesting.
are we being led astray again?
Antarctica, they say, no one's ever lived there, no one's ever done anything, and that's the way they want to keep it. That's why they say no one's ever done there and no one can actually ever go there, because it's clear that they're hiding things, and it'd be clearer that they would, if there was ancient technology. I mean, the Nazis thought it was important enough to go there and do what they needed to do to take over that portion of, Neuschwaben land. They took that section over. The US took their section over, and everyone took their section over. So they thought it was of that much importance that they needed to do that in the first place. So
Yeah.
this ancient technology and these locations and pyramids are not coincidental around the plane. They're positioned these places on purpose, and there's various designs through the years, and they've found various places. But if you look on any type of map we have, they're all spread out everywhere. They're not just in certain locations. They're China, South America, North America, in places, and then there's places where they think they're pyramids have just not been uncovered, and then then there's these mountainous regions in Antarctica that look like pyramids, or there's areas that could be, and then they've worked in these areas and found strange anomalies and magnetic anomalies in these places. And it shouts that there's more to what they're saying, and it could be all buried in ice, but there's still stuff there that they're not letting on to.
Yeah. Well, I was always fascinated with Antarctica for years, thinking that was going to be the frozen Atlantis, basically.
Well, it could well be. It could well be the frozen Atlantis, or it could be the land that they go on about, because even with the maps, we know the maps don't line up, and we know that north could be further north and south could be further south, and that would lead to where these locations would be, and all we've got to do is travel to that. But they always, the maps are misrepresented, and we know that from the sun, and we know that from the tracking, and we know that from time and date when we did that 24-hour sun up, sun down, and that allowed us to work out these anomalies. Antonio's going through the anomalies at the moment, as we, today, he's been watching that 24-hour section and writing down, and I believe he did mention to me that there was problems with time and date in Guam, and it wasn't matching up, and there was a few other locations that he said, yep, this New Zealand should be shifted another nearly 800 to 1,000 kilometres further that way.
Yeah.
And just by that,
you'll find a lot more. You'll find a lot more anomalies as well.
I just ran across one of them with Robert Plant and myself. We was talking, and somehow we stumbled across he's supposed to be 700 miles to my east, as the globe points it out, but yet he's one time zone behind me to my west. So how is this possible? And just to confirm it, we went ahead and pulled Google Map up. He lives in Bogota, Colombia, right? And if you draw a straight line off the map from or over the so-called globe, uh, up straight up north, you'll see that it runs into New York City when it makes landfall to the United States. I know for a fact New York City is 700 miles to my east, but yet he's in the central time zone, which is 30 miles to my west, which is actually west is that way from me. That, hey, there's my Bedford Canal back there, people, and that runs true north and south. So when I said that I see the sun come up in the northeast, I'm judging that off of what we can prove that canal to be true north and south. So you heliocentrics out there, that's my west, that's my northeast, and that's the direction the sun's rising right there.
Busted.
I mean, they say that there's been.
You don't believe me? I'll tell you the next. Whoa, sorry about that.
They say there've been anomalies with, you know, the sun supposed moving, but I'd say more the fact that there's been, you know, it's because we're detecting anomalies with the fact that the sun doesn't match up with the map rather than the sun changing in respect to that. And I think, you know, with geoengineering, that's where the problem is. There's so many companies out there. You only have to do a simple Google search. I mean, I just looked today and I, you know, stumbled on some basic ones, and I think this one was in Texas, I believe. Yeah, here we go. It's this is it. I'll read from it. This is Texas Weather Modification Association. It's the Tranpico Weather Modification link here. The 2016 season has started. The report for 26th of June. The West Texas Weather Modification Association, an operation of cloud seeding programs that operate over 6 million acres in the Texas weather position. The primary goal of the program is to enhance rainfall in the, you know, so this is what they want to do. They're enhancing rainfall, but they're not telling you all the other factors that they're doing in between, and the factors that they're using the VHF pulse radar system, which can manipulate the chemtrails and manipulate the cloud seeding, and that's also been proven that when they fire these pulse radars up, if you've got the wrong system coming over, that can aggravate the storm, and you can end up with a lot more than you started off with, and or it happens over a period of 24 hours after that's been fired off. And the amount of times that Dutch censors spotted it, recorded it, filmed it, and then done a whole documentary, and even sent off for the information in regards to this type of equipment. And yeah, that's what it's designed to do. And they say, and it can also map where the clouds are as well, so we can tell you that. But they don't tell you the secondary features, all the other things. It's a bit like saying, this medicine's good for you, but we won't give you the side effects or the white bit of paper that tells you all the details you need to know. They say, no, you don't need that. Don't worry about that. Don't look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at the mild pharmaceuticals that we give that get that some of the side effects are just the counterproductive of what they're supposed to be productive for, you know? It just doesn't make sense. You know, you did touch on something there in reference to like utilizing the HARP to aggravate chemtrails there. I think it used to be, I haven't went down the HARP Avenue in a while, but the magnetometer actually used to be online where you could go and track its daily events. You could actually change the calendar on it and go back in time. As we look at the events of Katrina, there was extreme activity by the HARP system going on. The ironic part of it is that the magnometer, it had indication for northern direction, indication for southern direction, and an indication for a westerly direction, but nothing for east. Well, we know naturally it's going to go to the east unless you're trying to figure out a way to persuade its path north, south, or west, because naturally it's going to the east.
I think they can control it with. I think they control it with various things like that. They have more advanced technology to use for the current technology, and because there's so much geoengineering and cloud seeding programs and other types of event that government are doing where they drop smart dust and nanoparticles and stuff like that to track it's all part of their thing, but you won't find that information out anywhere, and the stuff you do find tends to be, have incorrect details in that. So it's very hard to know where they're coming from with these, but I think the way to do it is again through the health thing. So, because if you can fight by being healthy, then you're one step ahead of their game, which is to make us all unhealthy and slaves. Rather than a healthy slave, there's a difference. Because a healthy slave can realise he's a slave and then actually wake up and think, well, I'm going to do something about this. But if you're unwell, you're really in trouble.
That's exactly why they treat cancer instead of curing cancer. It's their cash cow. You got a cash cow, you ain't gonna eat him all at once.
No. Everything's a cash cow, and that's how they've made it. That's how they've made society. And it just saps the life out of people's pockets and will. And I think it's only when you break out of knowing what you're trapped under and then start to try and do something about it, that's when you can really change. Because it requires everyone to say no, and then that's it. I mean, in the UK, they did that with the poll tax. Everyone said, no, we're not going to pay it. There was big protests, and in the end, they didn't pay it, and they brought in some other discrete tax later on. But that's not the point. If they carried on pushing and saying no to the next one after that, and then the next one after that, and the momentum was kept, that's how you do it. You don't just kind of give up, and I think they kind of pacify. They want everyone to be pacified in society now.
If people just realize, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I've just joined. I couldn't hear what you were saying earlier when you were first discussing this. Have any of you brought up how distracting it is to be unhealthy?
No.
It's very distracting. When you're unhealthy, your thoughts are very distracted by your lack of health. A few months ago, I had an abscess, and the amount of time I spent thinking about the abscess, about what was causing it, how to get rid of it, why is it happening, how much, to what degree, how am I going to get rid of it? All those thoughts based on something that's kind of relatively easy to fix. Once you've fixed it, you have much more freedom of thought. So when you're unwell, you're distracted. If you have a cough, you're distracted because you have a cough.
Yeah, and worry makes you unwell as well.
Yeah.
So if you're fearful and you're unhealthy and and then you're trapped in the debt society that they've enslaved us in.
1 minute, guys. 1 minute.
You've got no chance of actually ever really breaking out of that, and then as soon as you watch the TV and then get sucked into the propaganda, it's a vicious loop of death, and that's what they want. They don't want you to break out of that, and once you can start to break all the people to that, and health is an important part of that, most important, because if you haven't got your health, you've got nothing.
You know how years ago the idea of eating ice cream when you were unhappy, if you were a woman and you've been left, or you were having problems, the whole Bridget Jones and the generation before that, our generation, you had all this eating of ice cream because you were unhappy, okay? That was put there. That's not something people did. That's something that a writer thought up and wrote it into a story, and it was played with other people. So now we have the idea that when you're not happy, eating as a consequence is something that humans naturally do, even if it's something really unhealthy. That's just been put there into the consciousness, and people do it. So there were people who were eating before unhealthy. We've always known this. From the point at which MSG started being introduced into the diet, but the idea of gorging yourself out of unhappiness we have other things that we're given to us in, you know, that we accept as just part of human nature, which are not. They're just a construct that has been put out there, and we look at it and we take it in. So we have the idea that, like you said, Robert, when you're too distracted, you can switch off by watching television. That's something that television doesn't talk about this, but that really is something that's out there in human nature, because it really, you go into the theta range, you're doing very little cognitive processing, but you feel like you're engaged. You know, you're not really. Everything that you're doing is at a very, very superficial level in terms of how deeply you're thinking about things whilst you're watching TV. And you can see this if you walk into a room full of people who are watching a television program, and you just watch them. If they're really engrossed, the faces that they'll have will be, that would be the face. It won't be, you know.
I know, it's incredible. You're so right.
Yeah, I came back from Spain one time, okay? So I walk in, I've been away for 6 months, I'm there to see my family. I've just arrived back, okay? I've got 3 sisters, a brother, my mother. I walk into the house, and they'll go, shh, because we were watching a film and it was just coming to the end, okay? So it's like, oh, okay, this is nice. And I'm watching them, and I just realized they're all in a trance. That's what's happened. So when I've arrived, it's like, oh, no, I don't want to come out of this trance.
They're in that state of hypnotized and
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
brainwashed, basically, isn't it?
But the look on the face when people are really, really engaged with something really interesting is happening. The display that people have, the way the body communicates with the world is different to when they're in a trance. When they're in a trance, they become unconscious of how they look, and the mouth drops and the chin drops, and you have this, what we used to call the moron behavior. Very little thinking going on, and people are happy to do this. Intelligent people are happy to do this. They go home and switch the TV on.
That's their way of relaxing.
Yeah, it's the equivalent. It's the way of losing consciousness, in the same way that people who take the kind of drugs that dull consciousness, so the kind of drugs that are allowed and promoted, those drugs, they allow people to become less conscious. And watching television allows people to become less conscious too. And that's why we have it everywhere, why we have the catchy jingles, why we have the visuals to put us into a trance. It's all there to remain unconscious.
Oh, that's the whole thing.
Now we've got that Pokemon app. Run even more.
What's that? You're a little bit quiet. You're a little bit quiet, Ruben.
Hey, if I may cut in real quick.
Yep.
Yeah, I just want to excuse myself temporarily. I made a 1-hour mistake on the transfer of time, and I'm getting ready to eat, so I'm just going to turn my camera off and set mute. Cheating, I apologize. That's a mathematical mistake by the hillbilly, and I don't know how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera off. And
enjoy your food. Don't rush it. Don't rush it. Enjoy it.
All right. Thank you. Sorry once again.
There we go.
Ruben, you were saying?
I've turned you up now.
Oh, yeah. There's that new Pokemon app. Distractions. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Distracting everyone. I woke up today to see everyone's on this Pokemon app walking around just zombified, literally. Catching Pokemon, literally full-blown adults, not doing anything productive. They're just walking around zombified playing Pokemon. There's so many distractions, whatever you're into, whether it's TV, video games, sports, you name it.
It's an excellent way of, do you know, if we just put the sequencing that's required to be able to hoodwink people, all the, you know, there's very few things to show You need a distraction so that people who are watching the show won't notice what's going on around the back, and that's where the pickpocket, you know. So if we imagine the pickpocket, instead of taking wallets out of pockets, planting things in there instead, that's what we have. But instead of pockets, it's your freaking mind, and you have all these things planted in there, just thrown in there whilst you're distracted.
Yeah.
And they design them so they make you come back and play it and pay for it and keep doing that. So it's a perpetual. I think the company made nearly £500 million today.
Yeah.
Just
And isn't that
in the amount of countries that were playing it. It's been released in the UK today. You know, it's in other countries and released around the world. But you know, everyone's gone, oh, we'll play this, and you know, there's all the concerns of the fact that they're getting, you know, hypnotized into it again, and it's a gaming strategy that these manufacturers use because they know it works. They know they're going to keep the audience attention on the device constantly because they're constantly wanting to play it, and then that means that you're losing your life on this thing.
And they also know that people want a distraction because
you're not thinking.
They're not happy with the atmosphere. They're not happy with the food. They're not happy with relationships. The people generally, the level of discontentment is pretty high. You know, well, that sounds like an oxymoron. There's a lot of discontentment out there that they can tap into. You know, just forget about this situation at work or forget about this strife somewhere. Play this instead. You know,
right. And their mind remembers that, so when they come back, their trigger response is, I'll play that. I got that feeling from that game. So then they play it again, and it keeps perpetuating. And then after a while, they're actually addicted, and they don't even realise they're addicted to that game, and they're playing it continuously. I mean, it's like Facebook, and it's like getting sucked into that. I mean, it can eat away your hours of your life. I don't tend to look at it too much. I tend to scan through the pages of, you know, all the flat Earth stuff and pretty much ignore the rest.
Yeah, me too. Hey, I found something on the .gov.uk page regarding vaccinations. Did either? Yeah, you saw it, Ruben.
Yeah, that was incredible on that Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah, the government has an application process if you or your child are damaged by vaccinations, where they will give up to £120,000 if your disability is of 60% or more, which means not being able to speak or not being able to walk. Pretty high level of disability. This means they know that vaccinations, it's no longer a debate. They've set up a fund. They've set up a process for people to apply for the child damage to be compensated for. You know? Yeah, so people are distracted away from finding stuff like that. Got the dog barking.
Venga. Venga. Fucking man. Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Someone just buzzed my door and died.
He's happy to see you.
Yeah.
Oh, he's lovely.
How's it? She's very protective, like she hates the door going off. Bed. Good girl.
Is that Spanish I hear in the background? Ruben?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Was I hearing Spanish? Was I hearing somebody saying venga?
Yeah. My partner's from Peru.
Oh, cool.
Speak to the dog in Spanish.
Yeah. I thought I'd heard some Spanish there in the background. Cool.
Yeah, loads of chemtrails as well. My girl's just pointed out.
I mean, I've not had much. I mean, it's interesting. You've had lots, Antonio, up your end, and
yeah,
Cambridge have not had any. Ruben, you're in London. Oh wow, you can see them, yeah.
Yep.
Did I just see the moon as well?
Yeah. Yep. There she is.
Yeah.
Wow, there's loads of chemtrails.
Yeah.
And there's some very interesting theories on the chemtrails. I don't know if any of you guys have read the actual documents on the stratospheric aerosol program.
Yes, I have, yeah.
Yeah, there's another word in there. But yeah, the reasons for them and the extra things that they can be used for. The list is really big, you know. It's not just, you know, reflecting solar radiation back into space to cool, to help with global warming.
There's many other applications that they can do with that.
A whole range of things that, you know, to anybody who doesn't have a physics degree would be like, what the heck is this? Which is how I read them.
I mean, but the amount of companies that are out there in the UK and all around the plane that are conducting these chemical, you know, seeding programs and then doing other things as well. You know, they actually, you know, with the smart dust, they can map a whole population moving continuously, and all they would do would use the chemical spraying application and dump the smart dust down onto the population, which would allow them to be able to track it from high altitude observation planes that are just flying over, and then they could map the whole population of people moving. So there's lots of applications they can use for all this geoengineering, but it's, you know, it's rampant around the world, and it makes you wonder, like places like California and where they've got massive droughts, why are they droughting those places out? Because if they've got all this technology that can cloud seed, which they clearly state that that's what it does, why aren't they doing it there? Why are they doing it elsewhere in America?
I think the reason they don't do it there is distraction. You know, look at all the people distracted in California because they you know, they're in a drought situation. You know,
it's a good reason, and it will also allow them to do what they did in, you know, like places where Katrina hit. You know,
oh yeah,
wreck the place, come back with your big companies, and then you can take over once everyone's cleared out.
Yeah.
So clear out California, clear out, you know, the reservoirs and lakes, and no one's got water, and then eventually the population starts to dwindle and people start to leave us. It's dried up everywhere, and, you know, then you're in a situation. But that's part of their Agenda 2030, which is ensuring that people go to these mega cities, and the way they can do that is by manipulating the weather. Because the weather affects everything, and it affects people's moods, and it affects the land, and it works as a good distraction.
Yeah. I think we need some elevator music. Thinking this, I've been tabulating the data from the sun tracking exercise that we all did, and there are periods there I'm thinking, oh, I could really do with some elevator music. Well, okay, not elevator music, but some, you know, some nice mellow music. But we can't. We get copyright strikes, don't we, if we use that?
Yeah, you'd have to make our own elevator music to get that going in the background. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, I'm also looking forward to next weekend at Brighton. I'm just going to bring the details up, and I can read straight from it rather than guessing.
Yeah, we're buying up all our stuff now.
Yeah, so it's
the girls all excited.
F.E.B UKers in Brighton, and it's going to be not the content that they're trying to do, but it's going to be the variation of Samuel F.B. Rowbotham's Bedford level experiment from the ZTEC astronomy at Worthing Pier, using theodolites and other high-powered cameras that are going to be fixed at a confirmed elevation, and that's going on at the 23rd of July, 12:30 at the Beechwood Hall Hotel, and yeah, it should be another great day where we get to test more flat Earth information and see what comes of it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the videos. I won't be able to come down, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens.
Yeah, I'm going to get down and try and film it.
Does anybody know whether the videos from the Bedford level have been compiled by anybody? Whether anybody has a video showing everybody's videos?
I don't think they've compiled
I think Dave was meant to. Dave's meant to have all the footage, as far as I'm aware.
Right. Just I have one of my Globelink friends was asking to see the footage, and I've seen yours, the two of you, but I know that there were other people there, you know, with cameras, and it's just like, oh wow, I want to see that footage. I want to be able to show other people that footage.
Yeah, I think it was the two people that had the P900s and one P600. That's the footage that would be key to it, because I mean I did film part of it at that maximum distance, but yeah, getting the whole 15-20 minute sequence near the end, that's the thing. I mean that's what I'm going to really concentrate on the next meet, which will be at the 23rd of July next Saturday. So that's what I'm going to concentrate on, getting the end footage, which states it, not so much the beginning where everything's setting off. Just get the kind of end results and get as much on that as possible.
Yeah. Cool. Right, guys. Now that
there's a bit of footage that still hasn't emerged.
Say again, Ruben. Sorry.
Sorry?
What did you say, Ruben? I didn't.
There's another bit of footage that still hasn't emerged. It was the GoPro headcam. That footage still hasn't been acquired, so I need to pick that up probably at Brighton. That might be interesting to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
And has anybody?
Sorry, hillbilly.
What I want to do right here in my canal. What I want to do. I was just saying, what I want to do in my canal right here, I want to string a string out on water level, actually floating in the water until the test is established, and bring it taut as taut can be. And if there is curvature, by all means, at the half-mile mark, that string should be 4 inches submerged underwater. If the string is still on the water surface, that's just as good as the Bedford level experiment.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
That's right. It's pulled taut, yeah.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this. I heard when you were describing this on Patricia Stay's show, if you have it just above the water, because what Globelinks will say is that it's just floating, you know, but if you have it above the water, like an inch above, all the way across that mile, then that's it. It's game over for the question of curvature over water.
Yeah, but that taut to get that much sag out of the string, I think you're asking for the impossibility. On the water surface, once I establish what I got is an old bicycle fork, right, with a wheel on it, with the tire taken off, took the bearings out to where I could put a ratchet on it and slowly bring it taut. That way I don't have to worry about overstretching the string. And once they can see that it is taut, they've got.
Yeah, it's definitely breaking up.
Yeah. Hey, listen, guys. I'm going to go and have some food too. Now that Hillbilly's come back,
Okay,
my
take care.
food's ready.
Speak
So
to you later.
Go for it.
I'll do the same though. I'll
Take care, Antonio.
and I'll
Enjoy.
be,
Speak to you soon, buddy.
See you
Yeah.
in a bit.
Bye.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Hillbilly's dropped out. Yeah, I think he had problems with his connection. There we go, he's coming back.
Yeah, cool.
Refreshed. How you doing, Hillbilly? Back again?
Sorry about that. Appears I lost my connection again.
Yeah, you're much clearer now.
Yeah.
It did get a bit broken up.
NSA
What were you saying about the wheel and the thing? Because that was when it kind of broke up and got interested.
I said I took a bicycle wheel and I took the bearings out of it so I can lock it up. And then I take a ratchet and I can use the ratchet to turn the wheel. That way I can get it taut, real slow, real tight. And then I take their floating argument out of the equation. Just like trout fishing, we watch our string float on top of the water until we actually catch the trout, and then the string gets submerged as soon as tension is applied to the string. So at the half-mile mark, by all means, the string should be 4 inches underwater.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had a powerful enough laser, you could, again, if you could focus the beam at that mile point and to ensure that the beam at the end was focused rather than it splaying out, you could prove that instantly. But the trouble is, laser light splays out at the distance, and that's why it's, unless you've got a really super powerful laser, it's not going to do that. So stringing
That's what I was going to say. Being in the excavating trade, if working with pipe lasers, not a rotating laser, but a pipe laser, I think the pipe laser would be the laser of choice if I was going to do it. Now, the only problem, I don't have access to one anymore to where I have to go to an equipment rental store to rent one. We're talking about a machine that costs upwards of $13,000. To hover it above the water surface, I can't say I'd want to be responsible for a $13,000 machine doing that.
This is it. They've got us by the price of these things to start with.
Yeah.
Too expensive, and they don't allow you to have them. And if you had one, you wouldn't really want to risk £13,000 in a go. That's not going to be good for the bank.
Now, I would trust the rotating level laser for the reestablishment of sea level to try to find the arc, not the curvature rate fall, but the arc in any one given mile.
Yeah,
as we utilize these purposes to construct roads and parking lots, and when we build arc is measurable. It's hardly visible to the naked eye, but it's definitely measurable to that rotating laser, and it may be rotated enough for that, just for the simple fact it's not benchmarks. So as I transfer my benchmark, I can also transfer my laser to remove any distortion, any argument that light bends. Okay, if you're saying light bends, I'll just, every time I transfer my benchmark 660 feet, I'll also move my laser 660 feet.
That's right, and you'll be able to get
therefore I'm no longer
all the way along.
And I'm receiving several arguments that it can't be done. Sure that it can be done. I challenged anybody. I got the $1,000 challenge out there to confirm it. I'll transfer a benchmark from one town to another, and when we get to the second town, I'll tell you of the benchmark that you can look up and confirm that I'm right. Anybody could pick any 2 towns. Just give me the benchmark or the elevation of the first one, And I care less where you, when you, only you have pre-knowledge of what the elevation is of the second one. I'll transfer my benchmark from point to point to point to point to point to point as many times as it takes. And when I get to that second benchmark, after I do my final tally, I'll tell you the elevation. That's how confident I am on it. I live so close to the Neil Armstrong Space Museum. You'd think these heliocentrics would be all vacation on. Prove it wrong.
Wow. Yeah, that's why no one will ever take you up on it, because they know that, you know, they know they'd be losing that £1,000 to start with. Hillbilly's frozen again. Yep.
Yeah. Well,
no technical difficulties.
I stepped out because my mum had arrived. Rob, did you get onto Dumbs yet?
No, we haven't gone to bases yet. There's a lot in the UK though. I'm going to go through the list now. I think bring it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of places that are hidden, even in places which are populated, is extremely high. And Corsham, where Rudloe Manor is the one that has been hidden for 60 years. It took a team of like 4,000 engineers, construction engineers, to build this underground city, and that's where they hold all the main server banks for the UK as well. And it's also where they have the contingency of government in the event of a nuclear war or that type of attack. And within Parliament, they've got Whitehall, which has got an underground facility that's the one of the command centres for UK, you know, strategic nuclear weapons and all the control facilities for war around the world. That's those places. They're interconnected with tunnel systems, which are all underground networks that link that and that base together. And yeah, you wouldn't be able to prove it, but the actual fact of the proof that these have already been detailed information. The Sky News went down into the Corsham Centre and actually got toured around the areas that they allowed people to see. But it's you know, the amount of places that they're hidden everywhere, and the areas that they have as well in civilian nuclear bunkers. So in towns and villages, you'll have certain points that they'll have bunkers where the mayor, or you know, if supposed elites and, you know, government officials are stuck in that particular area, then they can go into a bunker. They've got them in Cambridge, you know, so they're likely to have them in many other places. And you know, the network of these things might not be linked underground, but they still have these facilities dotted in the most common places. And the trouble is, underground facilities, they only need an access door at the top in a building that's hidden, and then you can't get into the building. So then these places are well camouflaged, and you wouldn't know they're there. Yeah. I mean, I've seen a few of them. That's how I know know they exist.
Have you ever been round inside any of them?
Yeah, I have in RAF. Just trying to think. It's RAF Alconbury. Before it's kind of not closed down. They've kind of semi-decommissioned it, they say, but there's many nuclear bunkers all dotted around that, and they could hold anywhere from, I think it was 20 to 50 people in one of these bunkers. And you go through it, they're incredible, and I've even got a picture, you know, pictures of them, but all they look like is just a mound of grass and lots of bits and pieces coming out the top, which is normally the ventilation type of extraction systems that they have in those facilities to get rid of purge air and, you know, do that type of recycle that they do. I don't know how the systems are very complicated. I went into one of those facilities and got toured around. You know, the first thing you do is you go through the entrance, and they've got the decontamination showers and decontamination kits and everything available for that. then once you get through that, you get into like a staging area that has all the kind of, signing in boards, places to put your boots and coats, and then they have further back in the facilities the bunk rooms, food rooms, the wash facilities, and that. And these individual bunkers were a little less kind of you're just feeling back a bit over it. That's better. Okay, yeah, thanks. Yeah, so yeah, I mean those facilities are just basic bunkers. They're not the type that the elites would be going in. These are the type the soldiers would be going in, the most basic type of bunkers. But the bunkers they have in all countries, they're advanced and they've got the best stuff in them. Not in America is the best place because they actually build a huge amount of these private facilities that are bunkers. I mean they've used many of these derelict silos in America where they just hollow out the silo, section the levels all the way down, seal it at the top, and then just have it patrolled by security that monitor it. The amount of times I've seen those facilities that are and they're well equipped. They're like one area, just bedrooms, swimming pool, cinema, that type of thing on the next level, and then the bottom floor would be like hydroponics, full botany areas for growing stuff and seeding stuff and that. Yeah, they're well equipped. They have them all over.
Yeah, obviously Denver in America springs to mind.
Yeah, the New World Order airport. The one that was set up with all this.
Can't deny,
I completely agree. Yeah, the way it was built.
Like,
go on, hillbilly.
Go on.
You can't deny the fact of what's going on in Cheyenne Mountain, and I think they're even starting to come more east. It was more dominant to western United States, but I think they're starting to come more east. And ironically enough, the rock table is unpredictable on the east compared to the west.
Right.
That's why I go down. Yeah, I know I'm about one of the only ones that will go down to that. These earthquakes that trying to give credit to injection wells for fracking facilities could very well be underground blasting for the harder formations where we see our rock table come up here on the eastern side of the Mississippi versus the western side of the Mississippi. Because, if we stop and look at, could the sinkholes possibly be contributed to some of these dams to where they had structural failure or cave-ins of some of their tunneling that connects one dam to another dam?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, there's so many salt domes as well. I want to touch on that. I still haven't heard much about Assumptionville Parish. The big collapse of that salt dome there, where it caused the big lake to appear in the middle of that. That's been buried and hidden for the last 2 or 3 years. Not much has been surfaced with that. Well, that was a massive expanding salt cavern that they fractured the side of it, and then all the ground started to slump in, and the lake just kept expanding and expanding, and that's pretty much covered. And what happened when they did that? They breached the part of the gas side of it, and it started releasing natural gas into the whole area. So the Assumptionville Parish had to evacuate most of the residents and move out. But it's something that's not been in the media. It's not on YouTube anymore, and it's certainly not been put out. I mean, I was following a few places that were doing it. They were flying over, doing the helicopter survey of the land. So they spend a couple of minutes doing a circle around it, and they were doing it on not two. It was normally about once a week they would do that. So fly around, and you can actually get an image of how it was expanding. And it started off just like a few trees and roots, and then it ended up like a huge, massive lake that was 700 feet or so deep, and still growing. And then, that's been. They've not said anything about that again. That's kind of been swept under the carpet.
Yeah, no, I didn't see about that.
From history.
Yeah, I mean, they've just done that with history, and it is history now because no one's really said anything about it, and the residents of that place haven't really been up in arms. They've probably been paid off and moved out. So they probably said, right, the price of your property is worth this. We'll give you twice of it. You move out and don't make a fuss. I mean, not many people will argue with that. You know, and if it's going to destroy a village and a place, the actual town where this bayou is, and all these houses are situated on the bank side, you know, they're all going to require compensation. If they've got that compensation, and part of that is that they don't discuss it further or make any kind of media responses, then they'll just move out and it'll be kept quiet, and the company that did the damage in the first place would have got away with it scot-free, because they'd have got away with, you know, relatively cheap payouts, and compared it would be to actually repair the place and get it sorted so it wasn't kind of sinking away and disintegrating the land and then causing the gas to percolate through the water and the houses. They had gas monitors everywhere, so it was serious when it happened. But yeah, no, you know, like Fukushima, all forgotten about.
We've lost your camera, Rob.
Have we? Okay, let's have a look. There we go. Back again. No, I was just hiding.
There you go.
That's it. You don't want, am I going to be the only, you don't want me to be the only one hiding, you see, so, you know, we've got
That's it.
Antonio hiding at the moment, eating his dinner.
There you are.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. There's a lot of facts out there that you kind of still need to bring up.
Yeah, I didn't hear about that.
No, I mean, that's 2 or 3 years old. It's old news, but it's news that, you know, they've kept quiet.
Like I say, they've probably just claimed it as military land now, haven't they?
Yeah. What was that, Ruben?
I heard Fukushima was still leaking.
Oh, yeah, totally. Leaking into the ground. A lot of those cores in the nuclear reactor melted through the casing, and then what that meant was the capsules that had the uranium plutonium mix in it, those capsules actually broke through the steel casing wires that hold all these in place, and then it dropped to the bottom of the concrete containment in the vessel that's got water in, and then just melted to the bottom into the ground and kept going, because once they create like a thermal reaction, they don't cool down that quickly, so it just keeps eating away at the concrete and disintegrating it. And yeah, that dropped into the water table, which meant that they were continually contaminating areas, so they had to start trying to freeze the area and land between it and try and stop that. But yeah, they've not done much to it. They've not contained it, and they certainly haven't sealed it like Russia did with putting a sarcophagus over it so it didn't, you know, destroy the land and area completely. I mean, it's just surprising that they just ignore it and carry on polluting the sea, because all that's going straight into the sea with the location. The only benefit with the one that was in Russia, that it wasn't so located right next to the coast, otherwise the contamination would again done what it's doing. But you don't hear anything about it, and it's not in any kind of mainstream propaganda.
Well, they don't talk about Chernobyl flourishing with nature and wildlife now. They certainly don't talk about that.
No,
It's something very...
The propaganda that they have against that as well, saying that there wasn't lots of people that didn't get affected. Well, I think there were lots of people that did get affected by the radiation that leaked from it. And again, you know, to save their face and do what they always do, they just spin their lie, saying, it's not as bad as it is. The same as they say, you know, we live on a ball that's spinning at mental speed through space.
I'm very dubious about nuclear radiation in general.
Yeah, I think it's one of the sources of power, but it's not what they're telling you it is. It is
another fear mechanism, and I think Fukushima and Chernobyl are essentially false flag type events. There's lots of, if you look at Fukushima, there's lots of dodgy things that don't add up, especially the new facility they've built on there to allegedly get rid of the rods. This little crane arm that they've stuck on there don't add up. It's like looking through any false flag type thing, you know. And then when you look at Chernobyl, it's absolutely thriving. You know, it's got these huge wolf populations. Nature is in abundance just because humans don't go there anymore. So that's the reason. If there's fallout that's going to affect human beings, it would affect bunny rabbits and birds first, but it doesn't. So again, very dubious about nuclear fallout in general.
It could be a fear thing. They do love to push that, and if they can push anything and say, "Oh, well, it's the most deadly thing in the world," and you're gonna really succumb to it quickly, then they'll push it even if it wouldn't affect you locally. You know, so if we weren't affected in it and the US was only getting a certain dose of it, then they would drum that up to make it the biggest thing out. And they did push it for a while, and then they kind of thought, well, you know, we're not getting a response to this, we must do something else to get more viewers. Or
Yeah. There's a guy in America, I can't remember his name, he used to go around doing talks about nuclear radiation, dispelling the myths, and he'd put a bit of uranium on his hand and lick it on every single talk. He said he'd been doing it for months and months and he hasn't felt any ill health. He said it's so fine it passes straight through the body, but he puts a Geiger counter over his tongue and the Geiger counter goes mental. He said Geiger counters are just a device like anything. You could tune it to react to any energetic state, but it just reacts to what they class as nuclear fallout. But what's fusion? It's all heat energy, really, isn't it? So yeah, if you're standing next to any explosion, you're going to get burned.
well, it's like what they say the sun is. They say the sun's a big nuclear reactor, so you've got to kind of really, you know, judge what they're saying. If they're saying that's a nuclear reactor and we've got a nuclear reactor down here, then, you know, you've got to really kind of know what they're, you know, they don't know what the sun is.
Yeah. It's certainly not a nuclear reactor. I mean,
no, not at all.
no. I mean, it's hollow for a start, clearly.
Check Eric Dollard out for more information.
Has anybody ever went down the avenue that the sun is a cold fusion deal, and the reason why we get the heat is the magnification of its energy through the dome?
It could be.
Cold fusion doesn't have to put off the heat, but any light source magnified will turn into heat.
Yeah.
Will be warmer than it was on the original size.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely feasible. Was it you said, Ruben, about Eric Dollard?
Yeah, just watching a few of his videos, he seems to know quite a bit about the sun, or has an opinion on it.
Yeah, I was fascinated by his stuff.
Have you guys seen?
Yeah, he's a real character.
Yeah.
Incredibly intelligent guy. He talks about the sun being a converter from counter space. So it basically converts energy from another level, from another dimension, and it's hollow. And yeah, he's got some really good ideas about. He doesn't really believe in speed of light as well, and he said there's no light in infinite space, and all sorts of strange things he's got. But I think he's hitting on a lot of things that are more right than standard physics.
Well, the standard physics model is really not the best example for us to go on, because it says a lot of rubbish.
Yeah, it's flawed, isn't it?
It is flawed in a lot of areas and done that way on purpose, so we really can't take that for being the true word of when it comes to energetic energies. The same thing applies to your body, to all these physical elements around us, and how that interacts and how we interact with everything else is not what they tell us to be.
Yeah. One thing I found about sunspots, when they used to do things about sunspots, if it was a nuclear reactor, the hottest part of that ejector would be the center. Like anything, the hottest part would be the center. But in a sunspot, the black area is the coldest part. The umbra is the coldest part. So again, that's contrary to any sort of
It shouldn't be
out.
that way. Yeah, it shouldn't be that way. If it's black, and then actually it should be cooler in theory rather than hotter at that particular point. And it's what they say is what it is. I mean, just for your neodymium magnet, and that piece of inert plastic which is non-magnetic was inserted into that magnet over a period of time, and because it was inserted and left in there, it, without any oxide layer on the magnet at all, on the bit of plastic, somehow it transferred a field that was detectable in the plastic, but the plastic was not magnetic, so the plastic wouldn't be affected by any movement of moving a magnet near it. It was only when you actually felt the plastic and felt the interaction between the two things, you could feel, a subtle feel between the two when you're moving it. And it wasn't just me that felt it. Martin felt it, and we've had a few others feel the same thing. So, with them just saying that plastic is non-magnetic and you can't magnetize plastic, it has to be a composite type of plastic that, has that type of metal oxide in that would cause it to become magnetic plastic. The stuff they say is really rubbish, and we do know that with a lot of the science things that we test by and then look at in reality, and it just doesn't match up.
Yeah.
Just doesn't match up.
We looked it up, didn't we? Because we both thought we were imagining things with this little plastic thing that was repelling a magnet. And we found an explanation, didn't we? That said
yes.
some blurb, and then the magic word was, and somehow it transfers its magnetism.
Through an electrostatic field, somehow.
Yeah, somehow was the magic science word, wasn't it?
Yes, that was their technical answer for that, somehow. I mean, it was really quite vague and amusing, and that's what we thought. Yeah, well, somehow you're talking bullshit, and you really can't be describing what it is because you don't know what it is, and we don't know what it is. So you trying to say that it's that particular thing, it doesn't make any sense. And we laughed at that and thought, yeah.
This sort of leads to like Coral Castle, Ed Leeds Scallion's work at Coral Castle, because he claimed that everything has is magnetic. So everything's got its own resonant magnetic frequency. You've just got to isolate it. Like everything's got its own harmonic. So he said that's how he basically wrapped a wire around huge boulders with his magic box at the top, and he could push them around, float them in the air. So that's what he claimed. So yeah.
Really quite interesting. I mean, the other thing would be this. I mean, you've heard of the Rodin field? Well, there is.
Rodin.
Yeah. So there is also these mathematics that they can use to create these type of fields. I think they work in it on base 9 mathematics, but that would allow them to actually manipulate all these different types of vortexes from that just by layering these fields with that mathematics style.
Yeah.
Again, I'm no mathematician, so I can't really speak about it, but it'd be interesting for perhaps, Curtis on Globebusters to have a look and see into that, because that would be a new. I think they're using it as a particular type of science to do things now, and it's part of this again free energy cycle. But I think the free energy cycle's locked, and the reason is it becomes down to the corporations, and the corporations are what control the government to some degree in the countries. And if the corporations don't want this free energy, it doesn't matter how many companies that start to try and pioneer in it, it's never going to go anywhere. It's always going to be put on the back burner, and it's going to be, yes, in 20 years we might be able to get it, that kind of situation.
Yeah, similar to the way we're talking about wind and impeller and vortexes. The Rodin coil, Marco Rodin's coil, shows that just by winding coils using different sacred geometry can induce different magnetic fields, because we're stuck. All copper coils are basically wound in a tubular form, so we get this fixed magnetic field. So, but you can make lattices, you can use all sorts of platonic solids just in the weaving and the winding of the copper. Again, creates different electromagnetic fields, which interaction with different forces like vortex and stuff. Again, open up whole new physics.
I agree totally, and just by us understanding that they're what they're saying is not what it is, and we know that, and that it in turn will allow people to start to think outside this box and discover really clever, simple ways of doing stuff that have already been there and already been, discovered in the past, that have just been hidden. So I think it's a good thing good thing to look into.
Yeah, it's everywhere. The evidence of over unity and free energy is all around us. Again, it's just we've got to believe our eyes and not people in white coats and physics manuals. Like you were saying earlier about the Lily impeller. A tiny gadget, 12 volts, whatever, can move 10 million litres of water. So that's over unity.
Yeah.
That is over unity. That can't be argued, but not in their, by their own.
Because it was a design by nature rather than a design that they come up with. That's why it works so well.
Yeah. Anything that you get more out of than you put in, they just ignore because it smashes all the laws that they've created.
Well, guys, if you think about a huge tree, in California they have the redwood forests. Those trees came from a small seed. What went into that tree was that seed and the amount of nutrients that it took from the soil and the non-physical energy it received from the sun, and it converted that into hundreds of tons of timber. And it's so normal and natural that we don't think about where the heck all the energy came from to create all of those atoms that make up that wood.
Yeah.
What caused those atoms to be there? Because we don't have the ether. In the theory, we can't say that the ether manifested these energy vortexes that they call atoms. So, we just think, it's natural, and we don't look at it twice. It's like when, you go to a city that's new to you, and it's got a fantastic architecture, and you're amazed. The people who live in that city don't even notice it, okay?
They take it for granted.
Yeah, I think it's the same with us. We don't take notice of the huge trees that we have, and we don't stop to think, how the heck did that happen? Where did the energy come from to lift that timber those hundreds of meters up from the ground? Where's all of this come from? And study the mechanisms that are involved. Instead, it's just, it's a tree, that's it.
Yeah.
There must be some way of explaining it. The clever people at university must know. They got
photosynthesis, so it's all done, mate.
Of course, photosynthesis is done. There you go. This, guys, if you take the mass of the seed and the mass of the soil, the nutrients in the soil, okay, you can't. There's no mathematical equation that's going to give you this mass equals this mass.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that mathematics and mathematicians don't really go into.
Oh, they gloss over that, I think.
Yeah.
For me, I'm starting to think mathematics will solve very little. It's the way I'm starting to feel. I really feel we're in a musical system that they have boiled down to mathematics. We seem to be in a harmonic system. Everything is vibratory. Everything is harmonics. Everything has a frequency. Everything can be tuned, and that has nothing to do with maths. There's no maths involved in a guitar. There's no maths involved in musical notes. There's no maths involved in any of it. To me, the high culture's worked in a musical system, and we've devolved to a mathematical system. That's just me.
Well, they definitely did move stuff, and they were really in tune with vibrations and sound frequencies years ago. Even in places and temples, they've gone and measured the frequency of these places and actually produced certain frequencies. Some of these frequencies are actually healthy for the body, and they put you into a state of mind that it clears your mind. But they won't tell you that these frequencies are good for you. They won't actually say that this benefits you. They'll just kind of do the...
Yeah, this is the essence of crystal healing. Crystals are all energetic, individually tunable frequency amplifiers. So when people crystal heal, it's about you tuning into them, and that's why people get drawn to certain crystals, because literally your vibration is on a similar vibration to that crystal. So on the simple term, you're drawn to that. So when you learn to use these things more, you can tune your energy, and that can tune into other things. And so it's more of a tuning system than, than any sort of mathematical system.
And I think mathematics, like Tesla said, that the physicists were doing this with mathematics, and you have mathematicians now who say that mathematics is the language of the universe. No, it isn't.
No.
The language of the universe, the language of the universe is the language of the universe if it has one. A way of translating it. You can translate things into logic too, but you can also arrive at false results with logic. So, like we saw when Rob Skiba was explaining the glass half full, half empty. You can translate things into mathematics, but you're losing things in the translation. Like with any translation, there's something lost. So, you can do all kinds of clever things with mathematics, but unless there's a physical representation that you can then demonstrate you've done with your mathematical equation, there's no point to it.
No.
The only thing you're going to have as a result is a nebulous idea that can't be made into something coherent. Then it's gibberish. Now there's the mathematics of engineering, where it's to do with forces and weights and things that do have physicality. Yeah, fine. But all of the other, where you cannot find a way of giving it physicality, it's all just fantasy, which is what we have with the globe. It's fantasy.
Yeah, we've got Martin Leakey joined. How you doing, Martin?
You're muted.
I'm here, guys. Most excellent. Thank you for inviting me, Robert.
No problem. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, guys. Thank you. Really, really good. Excellent. Buzzing on life and buzzing on flat Earth, as always.
Brilliant. That's great.
Yeah, man. The only way to be, guys.
Martin.
HB, my brother, in from another mother.
My friend.
Love you, dude.
There we go, from across the pond.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, I love your work too, sir.
Just for you, brother.
You know how many times we've got intentionally just to talk to each other. Martin's having audio issues.
Yes.
This is the first time, brother. It is nice to meet you.
You too, Scott, brother. I really, really wanted to speak to you so bad.
Martin's actually got a really good connection now, so he's not.
It's all over with. Yeah, you're right, Robert. Yeah, it's gone, all that issues now.
Yeah, you're crystal clear.
Martin, can you put your camera on now?
Yeah, of course I can. Yes, you can see me at Ugly Mug, and I just Robert, I just did a vlog. Nathan's ingenious idea. Why don't I do a vlog so I can come through live, save on the uploading? Makes perfect sense. Except everybody joined the bloody chat. I ended up on there 2 hours. I couldn't bounce everyone. There was too many in there. Sorry. How embarrassing. Oh, I'm here now anyway.
There we go.
Yay! Flat Earth British, Martin speaking. Yo.
Oh.
Yes, we've gone full topic and full circle on lots of things that are linked in and are linked out with geoengineering and their control grid and even events that are going on in Manchester at the moment with simulation events like what they did in London. So just to alert people and make people aware that this is happening now, and they've not disclosed the information yet. It might have become public today, which is what they said, but it wasn't public knowledge before that. So whatever the event was kept pretty well hidden, and they don't normally do that. Normally they'll come in advance of what the event is and tell you, so you'll be able to find it out through just phoning them up or getting in touch with them.
I know.
Well, fingers crossed that nothing happens. That's all I can say. And if it does, then we know that they pre-planned it or they knew about the event before it was going to happen. Because why would they train advance of it? It wouldn't make any sense.
They did on 7/7. They were training that day. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It was big knowledge.
With 7/7, they announced it at least a month beforehand. I recall them announcing on the television and in the newspapers that there was going to be in the near future this big drill in London.
It's just to get it in people's heads so they can start to put the seed in that there's an event going on, and then they do it again, and then they do it again, and then there's an event, and people go, well, there was training for it, but look, there's an event, so it's just as well they trained for it because it's happened now. They don't really twig on that it's part of their plan in the first place. Aren't
we lucky? Aren't we lucky that they're so clear thinking?
Yes, very. We
So
know what to
diligent.
expect. Sweet.
Well, that's it. You can kind of call them out before it happens now, and that's a nice thing to do. And just, I knew about the event before, about 3 or 4 weeks ago. They didn't say much about it. It was just mentioned once, and then it went silent, and nothing happened. So I thought, well, just wait for it to come back up again. But yeah, I watched W77. That was where I got it from. I don't watch the news, you see, so
Same.
I keep my news
Yeah, that's where I got it.
to controlled news on the YouTube, and then I get less crap with it.
Same. F.E. News, always the best. The truth.
Hey, there's
When you got the truth.
Hey, political hillbilly, stop. Why don't you host a F.E. News? Just every day a 15-minute section and everybody just passes it on. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Is it a news break of what's
Yeah,
going
that's
on?
an idea.
Yeah.
You got your finger on the pulse,
I
brother,
had my
like
first.
no one
I
else.
had my first. Well, I announcement there the other day. It seems that we had to issue an Amber Alert for the Earth spin. It was not seen located at the equator as C2 West at a speed at 1,034 miles. It has since went missing, so if anybody has any knowledge to the location of the Earth spin, please notify your local officials.
Okay.
The links will be in the description below.
Spin missing. Oh. Yeah, the
Hey,
media
Martin.
responding big time.
Martin, can you pull your camera down a little bit? So you,
How's that?
there you go. That's better.
Yeah, I'm using my mobile. The media responding big time. That if anyone's seen the recent BBC documentary, oh wow, trying to outrun the spin of the Earth, going west to east. Oh boy, oh boy. Did anyone see it? Brian Cox in a typhoon jet, so just over 1,000 miles an hour. Even though he's in Britain and respectively is 620 miles an hour, but they left that equation out. He goes over 1,000 miles an hour and says, "I did it! I've outrun the speed of the Earth!" And watch the sun come up.
Oh, really? Wow. It goes along. They've been pushing hard this week. They had that thing in the Guardian.
1,000 miles an
Yeah,
hour.
Martin?
Oh dear, dear, dear.
Mad.
I think we're so silly.
Madness. Yeah, so they've been pushing that and then pushing the alien agenda. And we also had the situation of them lights in London that they put in the local media.
Yeah.
That all
Guys,
goes down.
my neighbour Lenny has just jumped in.
Awesome.
He came into a last hangout, I think.
Oh,
with,
yeah,
Robert.
Hey,
I
Lenny.
remember speaking to him. Hi, Lenny, how you doing?
Oh, not too bad.
Hey, man.
How's you guys? I'm back to bed today.
Hello.
Oh,
How you doing?
how you going? I need a word with you being cheeky. You're a cheeky monkey, you are.
I'm going me, I'm in a
really,
mood.
if you can solve it.
Go on.
Get people. I've got a lot of people out the field to the fence. Can't get them off it. If you was on a boat and they threw you off and give you a boat and you hit an island and there's one person on the island, all you got is a pen and paper. You got to explain to them the meaning of life, how things started. You've got two routes. Either you can go with religion or you can go with a Big Bang. But neither of them go anywhere and they both hit a brick wall. How do you tell somebody about how things carry on? If you go through the Big Bang, you know that don't work. If you go for religion, it don't work. I think we've got to cut a path right through the middle. That's the only thing I can come up with, because I can't explain it to people from the beginning. You've got to go back to the beginning, I think. If that makes any sense to you.
It does. It's a fantastic question.
Because you bump into someone, they ain't never seen nothing, and you've got to explain to them one or the other, but you can't. None of them go nowhere. They just hit walls all the time.
Do you know what I would do, Lenny? What I would do?
Yeah.
I would have an explanation that they can understand by virtue of having had an experience that rings true, and that's dreams. Everybody has had dreams, and in the dream, you don't know you're dreaming, but there's stuff going on in the dream, and then you wake up and you think, ah, that was just a dream. I think that's what happens with the situation we're in. We're in what we call life, and when we wake up, we realize, ah, that was life. That's what I think. That's, you know, that I think that would help them to understand. So in this dream, you know, there are some people who think it's a ball, some people who say it's flat, some people who say they can levitate, you know, some people who can remote view. But only when we wake up, we understand that this was just life, and we didn't know the parameters.
And how do you know you woke up in the first place?
Well, this is it. This
you know, with infinite probabilities, quantum wave function, they say that the probabilities of you getting out of bed in the morning, actually stepping out of your bed and falling off the face of a cliff, are quite high.
I used to dream that. I used to dream that, Martin. I used to dream
I know. I mean,
wake up out of bed and step off a cliff.
Off a cliff. And because it's in the field of infinite possibilities as a possibility, obviously it's not going to happen because you live your life the way you do. You expect to step out of bed. But that's still there. Just a quandary.
Well, I could never explain my dreams because my dreams end up sort of a funny sort of shape. No, I just came up against it. I've got so many people out of the field to the fence, but they just can't get them off of it. And I'm thinking, well, if they was a total complete stranger, how do you explain from the beginning with a blank piece of paper? Up to yourself even.
But this is a...
Ask them if they like being meaningless.
Either, can you? I think we've got
ask them if they like being meaningless. Tell them that the Big Bang teaches you that you're meaningless, worth nothing, a blue speck in infinite cosmos, or would you prefer to be the center of the universe, the emphasis of God's love, and all there really is? Oh, as we know. Would you prefer, ask them if they prefer that, to be nothing or everything? That's what I'd ask.
Yeah.
So when's our next meet?
Yeah, some stage, yeah, we're going to have to... I'm going to try and get down to Brighton next weekend and film the...
Coming up with that quandary, I'm thinking, how do you explain the beginning?
It's true.
Well, it's like, this is why I say about the dream, Lenny. How do you explain the beginning of the dream? Because when you're in the dream, you can't tell when the dream started. You're in the dream, you know. Yeah. And when you're telling somebody else, oh, so I had this dream, I was walking down the street, and if they say, wait, when did you start walking down the street? You can't place it. Yeah. And we can't place the beginning of history of humanity. We know that we can't place it. You know, the minute you place a date or a distance from now back in time, suddenly you find a pre-existing civilization. So you move the date back, and then you find another pre-existing, and it's like a continuous regression where we don't know the beginning of this dream, you know. And I don't, you know, I call it a dream, you know, in parentheses, but yeah, I think this is very much like a dream where at the stage where you're waking up, I don't know if any of you guys have had dreams where you start to lose it because you start to gain consciousness. It's a really good dream and you want to stay in the dream. I think this might happen when you're at the end, where you start to actually wake up properly, but you're still in your life. Then you're thinking, oh, damn it, I'm now realizing I could have done anything I wanted. Oh, next time, you know?
It could be, yeah, it could be. I mean,
I had a dream this morning with a message, and I forgot the freaking message. I couldn't get back to the dream. I had to get up and go to pee, because I can do that. I can get up and go to pee, go back to the same dream.
You need a notepad beside your bed and a pen and paper.
I got it, mate. I keep a journal beside me, but I couldn't remember the message, and it was important. Flat Earth, and the night before was Flat Earth dream too.
Oh wow!
People, us lot, Flat Earthers, my family.
I've not had a Flat Earth dream yet. I'm jealous of you, Martin.
You will. You will. It took me a few months.
Martin, you said before you could lucid dream.
Yes, I can. But the universe wouldn't let me at first because I was frightened. I was frightened of the invisible tether getting cut and me dying. And when I realised that didn't happen, I started to wake up a couple of years back with the help of another entity, what seems to be a female entity. We wake up together and we go through it together, guide one another. It seems to me that you can double your life expectancy on this plane. If you can nail lucid dreaming, you can live your life more solid, more meaningful, and do absolutely everything. I mean, fly, levitate, teleport, the works, in a reality more solid than this. And it is really true and very valid. And if we can master it, we'll double our life expectancy. We can live when we're asleep. But like Antonio said, you know, they said Buddhism teaches that we're in a Brahma dream, a kalpas. And each night Brahma goes to sleep, he dreams incalculable kalpases, which is our millenniums, they say. So each night Brahma dreams is our entire existence, the whole of this existence, this time around, which is how long? I don't know, Antonio. Anyone's guess, mate. Anyone's. If I was to hazard a guess, I'd say around the 1,000 years ago, Mark, Norman Conquest. I don't know, Antonio. Anything before then I haven't found.
Yeah.
I haven't found nothing with 960 written on it, for example. I haven't found anything with 820, for example. Have you? No. No, you haven't. I'm just saying.
I really do think that if we had a time machine and we wanted to move back to the beginning, we would move back and find that there was remnants there of a former civilization. So we'd have to move back again, and just that this would happen continuously. That's just what I think.
In the cycles, they say, like some purveyors, like Graham Hancock would say, it's in a 7-yearly cycle going on the Mayan cycle calendar, as he's a purveyor of, that the civilization gets advanced, more advanced, wiped out, start again. Deluge, they say the gates open or the windows in the firmament, flood us out, deluge, start all over again. Who's to say? It makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. Who knows? But you've made me think of an episode of The Simpsons back in the.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. Stadium, yeah.
There's an episode where the teachers they're doing something with glue, and Ralph gets ear stick to his shoulder, and he says, "Whoever have stuck my ear to my shoulder?" And she says, "Oh, Ralph, just put the glue down and go to sleep." And he says, "Sleep, yay! That's where I'm a Viking." I thought, that would be so cool. That if we could, like you're saying, Martin, if we could dream and be the same character in the dream every single time we dreamed, which we are, by the way, we just don't realize it, it would be so cool. Like, okay, I'm going to be an astronaut.
Well, then you told me to write down my construct that I've made in my mind. Then you told me to write it down, see if I could make some sense of it. Well, I tried to. And it turns out this construct that I visit every night in my mind, that I completely am a completely different person than I am now, but yet it's still me. Yet I seem to be a more significant person in society, if that makes any sense, more of a public figure, and I seem to have a word in things. And this was way back 20, 30 years ago when I started having these dreams. Do they exist? Who knows? On a different dimension, maybe. On a parallel Martin, maybe. Who's to know? Yeah. Too much, too depth, too many. The rabbit hole goes deep, and it's a warren, and it goes off that direction, that direction, that direction.
This is a quote from the Buddha. It says, "We are shaped by our thoughts. We become what we think. When the mind is pure and joy follows, like a shadow that never leaves." You know, and there's a lot in the mind, because they don't want you to know that your mind is more powerful than it is, and what you think is what can manifest sometimes, and also it manifests your health. So if you've got negative thoughts continuously and you're in that negative state, then you physically won't be healthy, even if you eat the most best food in the world, because you've not got that health intention on, or in the spiritual side of your body and the energy side of your body. It's a negative energy. So you can enforce that will enforce the food that you're eating, and then fortify your body completely. And then you don't get ill, or you don't get so bad affected by everyday circumstances. And when hard things hit you, they hit you like everybody else, but they don't hit you as hard and as painful. and you can bounce back a lot quicker.
I bless my food, so I can change the atomic structure on it. We are aware of the memory of water. We are mostly water. So when I say God bless on each end of each comment, I find that I write God bless 10,000 times a month, 6,000 times a month, and I know that it changes the body. If you write gratitude and love on the side of a bottle of water and then feed that water to a plant, the plant will flourish. We all are aware of the memory of water. We're all aware that we're made of mostly water. So it works to say we charm one another and we'll make that happen. It's the same with cooking food or an artwork. If you just take that time just to think and bless that food as you're cooking it, the atomic structure will change and that food will taste like heaven.
Yeah.
And it works for everything.
Yeah.
Intent.
It is the intent, and it's the thought and intent behind what you're doing, and if you can start to do that with general things in life, you just feel a lot better, I think.
This is your thoughts tuning the vibration. This is your thoughts elevating that vibration for your intent, isn't it? You're harmonically tuning things with your intent.
And as we do it together, then it works. There's an augmentative effect where it's amplified and it's accelerated because we're all together and we're accelerating together. We're getting this awakening together. Is what makes me believe personally is what's accelerating it in the first place. I think all what's happening with the F.E. I think it's all us. I think we're actually making all of this happen through our intent and our positive intent. I really do.
Yeah.
We are changing things, guys. We are.
Yeah. I think certainly agree with that.
Well, they certainly wouldn't bring it to media. They wouldn't bring flat Earth. They certainly wouldn't bring flat Earth to the media if it wasn't bringing any gain and it wasn't doing anything. They would just think, oh, flat Earth, they're just mad. Don't worry about that. That's not going to be on media. That's not going to get in the news. It's not going to come out of Obama's mouth. They wouldn't push against anything like that just to ridicule a small group if it wasn't actually doing anything that was influential to make a difference to people. They would just ignore it and it would just carry on, and they'd push their usual spin and rubbish that they feed.
You know, wow. Sorry, Martin, you just prompted a thought, Robert. Okay, so if all of us go back 10 years, yeah, we were doing things 10 years ago. We wouldn't have, for an instant, have contemplated how 10 years in the future we'd be going on Google Hangouts discussing the flat Earth, discussing the new consciousness, the level of consciousness that's arrived, okay? But 10 years ago, we knew that 2012 was looming, and we were thinking, oh, what will happen after 2012?
Yes.
This is what happened after 2012. We're at the start of what happened after 2012. We're only 4 years into it. So if we think now, 10 years in the future, what will we be doing? Which we didn't 10 years ago. We didn't think, hey, I wonder what I'll be doing 10 years in the future. And so clearly, we might have wondered, you know, but if we sit and contemplate and intent things for 10 years in the future, I'm pretty sure we can manifest them. In fact, I know maybe
100%. We can. They do it. They do it. The world you see around you that they built, it's out of their minds. They did it. They can do it. We can do it. As flat earthers.
Yes, I know millionaires who were homeless and told themselves that within 10 years they were going to be a millionaire. And through hard work and taking opportunities and opening new avenues, 10 years later, millionaires. That's just what this person, well, I know two, that's what they chose to do. Fine. Now, if what we want to do is have, in 10 years' time, have everybody have access to a free energy device. If that's what we intend, that's what we'll do. And how will we do it? We will devise them ourselves. We will find all the schematics that are already out there, open source. We'll construct our own. We will make duplicates, and we will give them to the most skeptical person we know and say, there you go, play with that. And when you've found that it works, share it, pass it on. Okay? Because they can't stop us. We keep thinking of universities arriving with some conclusions. They don't even have the ether. We can arrive at conclusions, and we can intent things. So there you go. I'm putting my intent out there to the universe.
Me
and
too.
also,
Yeah.
lots and lots of sex. I'm intending.
Yeah, and lots of sex into the ether, lots of good things, and all the things we were meant to be. They denied us our birthrights, guys. Yeah, from the moment we came out, from that second we came out, injections, vaccines, programming. They've taken our birthright. We're going to get it back, guys. We're going to be who we really are. Isn't that exciting?
That's it. Yeah, not a number. That is. Yeah.
We're not numbers.
Nope.
We're not even our names. We're entities. We are spirits having a human experience. Not humans having a religious experience, a spiritual experience. We are spirits having a human experience.
Mm.
You know, I like to point out how in the United States, with the debt that they acknowledged, 19 trillion, divided that down by the populace, and we see that we're upwards of over $30,000 per individual. So that means in my local hospital, within the next 5 minutes, there's going to be a baby comes out of its mama's womb. The doctor's going to smack it on the butt, and it's going to inherit $30,000 worth of debt. That's theft. We stole, they molested these kids' identity. They put them in a financial bind from Jump Street. That's by design, and it's theft.
Yeah, but there's a way of looking at it, as negative as that is. There's a slant that we can look at it, which, because we're part of that debt too, we're in that world too, which gives a little bit of a breath of relief. And it comes from people like Charles Manson, and here in the UK, Charles Bronson, a prisoner. Both of these people have been in prison for years. And Nelson Mandela said the same thing when he was in prison, because let's not forget, he was in prison for 25 years. So for those people to say, you can trap my body physically, but you don't trap me, okay? So now if we think, okay, so what kind of trap is debt? It's a fantastical trap. It's not a physical trap. It's a trap intended to trap the me. But once the person is conscious that this is just something that's written by other people who say you owe and we demand, but they don't trap you, they don't trap your mind. In fact, what they dedicate themselves to doing is trapping people's minds. So once people get awake and say, actually no, it's okay, you can send me to jail, you can send me to the mines, it's okay, don't worry about it, don't stress yourself, I'll go happily, I'll go peacefully. Then we start to see that the power that they've tried to exert, which is actually fear and restraint, doesn't work. It didn't work.
I'd have to agree. You know, once we learn that the separation of what they try to push upon us by means of intimidation, if we're willing to understand that individually we can't fight it, and this is how we need to pay the tree of liberty, then by all means give that tree a drink. Be willing to not consent to go, but go ahead and go and let them know that you feel that in this aspect that you understand that they're the ones doing wrong, but to justify it in their minds, you'll play along. But we also need to stop that mentality in my mind. It's not until we recognize how they're utilizing this uniform commercial code law, utilizing the separation of you and in the manner of a trustee, administrator, and a beneficiary. Well, I've got no problem being the beneficiary. Who the heck would? I've got no problem being the administrator. Now, if they want to be the trustee, I've got no problem with that. If they want me to be the trustee, I've got no problem with that. But what I do got a problem with is when they try to become the administrator or the beneficiary.
Yeah. When they try to switch roles. So no matter what move you make, they win. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why I'm thinking there are mental constructs that we can establish on ourselves, where no matter what move they make, we win. You know, it's like, oh, so you say I've now got 50,000 in debt. Okay, I win. It's as simple as I thought, because what they've done, they've woven this spell that they've converted into writing and into giving meanings to words like corporation. So incorporate means in body. That's what the word actually means. So we are a soul incorporate. So they've changed this into corporation, which means being bodiness. But if there isn't a thing that is being bodiness, then they're talking to an empty vessel, which is why we have the instruments, you know, to demonstrate that we are this vessel. And it's all just these games that they play, and we can say, I'm not playing. I win. I win by not playing, you know, and there you go. It's as dark as it is.
Well, that's just one thing. If people would go look up, I'm sorry, you had a little lag. I thought you was done. But if people would just go look up the different means of appearance. You know, you make an appearance in court. Under general appearance, you're there under total submission to jurisdiction. You didn't do nothing wrong. Why would you want to submit to jurisdiction? They're supposed to work for you. So as you go and study it, if you ever get called into it, do a conditional appearance and go look at Black's Law or Bouvier's Law and see what conditional appearance is. You're conceding to give them consent as soon as they prove your actions created damages, whether it be monetary or physical or a fraud. And we don't see people practicing that anymore. Why? Because they intentionally removed this information from easy access to us. You got to be willing to go look hard and deep and put the dedication in there. I got as much time in looking into legalese as I got deciphering the data dump of the Sandy Hook report, the Patriot Act, trying to do all the cross-referencing that it takes to understand the Patriot Act. And you people, if you was to have a kitchen table to have each book that you would need through the United States titles to do the cross-referencing, to research the Patriot Act, you would need more than one kitchen table. You would hope it has very strong legs. That's, you know, if it wasn't for the idea of browsers and tabs, I doubt if I would have ever went down the avenue of the Patriot Act as far as I did. Now, I know I would have still been all over Sandy Hook because that was all downloaded PDF. But to utilize the Cornell Law University is where I done my cross-referencing because as long as I've been a congressional watchdog, if you would, a self-appointed congressional watchdog, I've watched the Library of Congress reformat 3 different times, each time becoming less and less user-friendly, when software indicates that we're making things more and more user-friendly. So when you go to do your cross-referencing, when I say that Cornell Law is where you really want to cross-reference that, is because they got word for word all the United States codes and the cross-referencing ability, the ability to pull a section out, a 2,000-page PDF to where you're trying to scroll through it the way the Library of Congress does now, you know. So go ahead and utilize Cornell Law University for your cross-referencing, and you'll see the game. You'll see the game behind the Patriot Act. The sunset clause of the Patriot Act. Sunset clause is to give an expiration, the so-called contract. A valid contract has to have an expiration date. Well, go look at the amount of clauses within the Patriot Act that exclude themselves from the sunset clause. It's scary, people. It's scary.
So if they're excluding themselves from the sunset clause, it's not a contract.
No, well, in my opinion, it's not. In a true court, it's not.
Yeah, it's just a condition that they're imposing. Yeah, like if they impose martial law, they're imposing it a condition of martial law. Or the state.
But we've been under martial law ever since the Civil War. So, granted, the majority of it here, as we see it on the United States, is a peaceful form of civil law, but nonetheless, it's civil law. Or martial law. Why did I say civil law? Oh, because if it wasn't martial law, they would have never been able to have the gold confiscation of 32 or 33, HR 192. We've never been able to have the Securities Exchange Act of 1933. There's the mandate of the birth certificate. We know they can't do nothing without the birth certificate. Prior to the Securities Exchange Act of 1933, your mother was listed on the birth certificate as your mother. Now she's listed as an informant. An informant is an agent for the state.
Yeah, I mean, a birth certificate is your number, and that number is put into the stock exchange, and that's what your physical value is worth for the country, and that's how they base everyone's account. So everyone actually has a net value worth in the stock exchange, and it's only because you declare that you're part of this system. I think you have to apply within a certain period of time before the child is at a certain age, and then that will allow you to pull out of that thing, and then you can actually claim, I don't know if anybody's done it, but you can claim that the amount that bond is worth. Cesta V file, I think it's called. I'm not 100% sure.
It's been said to be done, but it's one thing to say it. The individuals who said it's been done, I've seen no physical proof that they've actually went through with it.
Yep. It's all talk as far as I can see, without little thing. And I think if someone did do it, they wouldn't. That's not going to become public knowledge. They would want to bury that.
And these
more important than anything, because people started claiming back their rights and not actually becoming part of that, and then saying, right, well, if you're bonding me and I've got the certificate, this, and I'm this worth this much, and I want to claim that, because they base that on if you go to prison or if you die or if you go in hospital, they say that's fine, you're worth that net value anyway, so that's how we account for that, and then we'll use the amount that you're worth against the stock exchange to say this country is worth this amount of money. That's the way they kind of play with these figures.
If you're in prison, you become instantly extremely profitable, don't you? We've just had the ex-Chancellor Osborne. He did a trip to America recently to check out all the prisons. So we're going to get an American-style, huge corporate money grab on prisons in this country, all in the post.
Yeah,
because it's extremely.
Get them on a chain gang.
Huh?
No. They got factories running, mate. A relative of mine just spent a spell, a rather long spell, where if he had a choice, spend 23 hours a day locked up, or work 10 hours a day in a factory, earning loads of money for the prison, was pretending to be a prison, which was actually a factory.
What, in the UK?
In the UK, and they're all doing it. They're all got either cottage industries where they're either making jam from the fruit that they grow, everything from that to literally growing scrumpy apples to make cider. That happens in Shepton Mallet. There's other prisons where they've got factories set up, bottling plants, you name it, brother. They got it all. And America, well, we all know what's going on there. It's just they're using all. They want them in jail so they can have them working. In fact, more people are working in American prisons than actually are working.
Yeah,
it's just phenomenal.
Yeah, and they take the money. like you say, prisons are virtually self-sufficient businesses, aren't they? But they take...
Yeah, but they've sold them out. They've privatised them. There's only a certain
exactly.
amount of inner-city prisons which are HMP. The rest are Circle or Group for Security. They've basically privatised them, sold them out. So bog-standard people, men and women, with no necessarily good vetting, so basically them, can just walk in and have the keys to be the screw in a prison. Bog-standard people. Very little vetting.
That's why those places got so bad reports of abuse and drugs and deaths and suicides.
The drugs, yeah. They got literally, right, in the local open prison, they literally, right, pass drugs and bottles of vodka under the fence in front of the guards as long as you give the guard some drugs. It's that corrupt. It's all like it. And the inner city big prisons are 10 times worse. Yeah, they let you bring a big ball of heroin into the jail as long as you grease the screws, as long as they have a cut. It's all that dirty and corrupt. And hardly any of them ain't on the take. If they're not on the take, they get filled in themselves. They gotta be on the take, same as the police. Hardly any of them are not on the not corrupt. They can't be. You've all what? Yeah, Serpico. Look what happened to him. True story. He went against New York police. Look what happened to him. Brave man as he was. Dead man walking.
Yeah. So their system, if you're really sick, you generate lots and lots of money. If you're in prison, you generate lots and lots of money. We're going to have, I think, a big propaganda campaign coming out here in a drip style as usual. But it will be, oh, we haven't got enough prisons. We heard this about 5-10 years ago.
They're building new ones, super ones.
We're not building enough. Now we're going to hear all the prisons they've got are dilapidated. They're virtually can't even hold the prisoners in.
They've done it already. You're that prophetic. They've already done it.
Wow.
Yeah, part of the drip, because they're going to be
all the literature
loads of money out of our pockets, just like in America. They've taken the American model. That's what I mean. Osborne was looking at that perfect model.
I've seen it.
Extract and launder money out of our pockets, just like the pharmaceutical companies do. You know, prisons.
All through Panama City.
Huh?
Yeah. So all their backdoor dealings, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why Cameron never walked and left office because he didn't do well in Brexit. It's because he got something up and coming in the very near future concerning him and Panama City. And if anyone don't know what was on in Panama City, the metropolis you never get to hear of too much in the news. Everyone and every government launders money through there. Okay?
Wow.
And he's just been caught with his fingers in the pocket, and before it comes on top for him, he bounces from office.
Good
leaving
one.
Satan in charge.
Yeah, leaving the evil paedophile Cal in charge.
Yeah, wants to bring the sexual age of consent down to 12 for the buddies.
Yeah.
But
they can get away with a lot more heresy with women in charge, can't they? You're going to see Clinton, you're going to see May and Angela Merkel.
You got it, brother.
There you go.
You fucking know it.
Women can't do these heresies, can they? That's just a woman.
Man, it's exactly what they're playing at. Can you see it? It's the feminine fucking thing they're using on us. It's, it's so clever and they're bastards.
It's like they couldn't have invaded Africa without Obama being a black president. You know, they had to have a black president so they could go and orchestrate that Arab Spring, Libya, Egypt, the lot.
So
they could have done it with Bush. They just wouldn't have got away with it.
It's so clear, brother. It's so clear.
The only places they haven't got is Syria and Iran. That's the last things on their list.
Iran. It's on the 33rd parallel. Anywhere on the 33rd parallel where the shit's going down. The only one left is that. Iran. It's Iran. But I don't believe they can do it. They're so powerful. I don't believe they got a nuclear program. I believe all that's a ruse. I heard you discussing fusion, fission, and nuclear power earlier. Nuclear power does exist. I don't know if plants exist, but I've seen nuclear isotopes exist.
Yes.
Because I've seen one with my own eyes. They took it to the radar on the ship, and they brought it in a sealed special box. Radioactive gear, and so that exists for sure. So, nuclear bombs? I don't think so. No.
There's something just very fishy about the nuclear science. The fallout.
Yes, mate.
all again based on linear mathematics. You know, we've got a 10,000-year fallout. We've got a 50-year fallout. Well,
yeah, and all the nuclear waste that's all at the bottom of the Irish Sea that they're going to bring back up and find somewhere safer for, which is all of this massive investment to get rid of it. Fucking bullshit. They drive nuclear waste past you daily on a flask in a cage. Now, what if it fucking hit a lorry, right? Well, they're going to have to rewrite the maps around you, so they've got no worry about it whatsoever. Why haven't they? Because there's nothing fucking...
Yeah.
Yeah.
We grew up
wrong. Lemonade out of me.
Yeah. We grew up with the myth about Sellafield. Remember that, Martin?
Oh, you mean Windscale? Change
Yeah.
the name and make everyone forget just because you changed the name. 1984, the book. Just change the name, everyone forgets. Same to do with the history.
Wow.
Windscale, it was called. Sellafield, change the name, everyone forgot. I seen them digging up mud, saying, putting a Geiger counter on it. Oh my God, 1,000 times over the limit. Yeah, they got one of the greatest cockle wheels in Europe in the Morecambe Bay. Makes 0 sense. What, does radiation make everything just flourish? Apparently so.
Just like Chernobyl, yeah.
Well, look at Hiroshima. It's a fucking massive city. What, 60 years after the nuclear bomb dropped on it? What about fucking radiation? It makes no sense. Nagasaki, the same. They're all walking around. Well, why isn't everyone fucking dying of leukemia? Only the ones they feed us about. I've seen 2 interviews, right, on YouTube of Hiroshima victims, and they're all the same interviews. A young boy who was in a school window, and a girl who worked on a tram. And that's the only 2 available on YouTube. Dig yourself, guys. There's no interviews of people who witnessed the bomb dropping out there. I'm telling you. Except in the documentary World at War, which was made in 1964 with Laurence Olivier narrating it. There's a couple on there. But they could have been paid.
Cost it.
Makes no sense.
Easily.
But there is footage of them going in after 3 days and clearing, you know, starting rebuilding it.
They say 3 days.
But well,
you know,
3 days, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. They say that the whole area was devastated. Yeah, no, that's not right. A third of the concrete buildings were still standing. Yeah. You can see the outer limits. They got fucking multi-story skyscrapers. The hospital of Hiroshima, was up and running right the way through. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see the streets are clearly clear. It looks clearly like a firebombing job. If you look,
I got 3 existing photographs on Earth on YouTube, and I've got the 3 of them, and they're quite telling, but they're not. If you know what I mean. You'd expect for the atom bomb a lot worse, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But it's carpet bombing. We see what happened to Dresden. It's clear to see.
Yeah. If that bomb
Tokyo was worse, much worse.
Yeah. If that bomb is the way we're believed that they make out it is, then it explodes and it obliterates everything in its path. You don't have clear streets. It just doesn't happen. If you firebomb,
the guy who dropped it explained it as a bubbling tar. Is that what you witness when you see the photographs of Hiroshima? A bubbling tar? Is it? No. No, it makes no sense. I've pulled apart so many hours of these documentaries, and everything is inconsistent. It's bullshit, all of it. I'm telling you. They haven't got them. 60 years and not one gone off. All the large Eastern European countries, all of them suitcase nuclear bombs they need us to think that they got in possession of. Yeah? Well, what happened?
Yeah.
Not even a fucking dirty bomb.
Psychopaths, and no one's accidentally let one off for 30, 40, 50 years.
What, Gaddafi, fucking apparently Saddam Hussein, apparently Bin Laden, all these fucking whacked out guys, apparently nothing. It makes no fucking sense. It's stupid. Hi guys, hi brother. What's happening from? Sorry.
India now.
Just saying hi.
Hey Martin, you right?
Yeah, good brother. Thank you. It's nice to see you.
Likewise, man. Yeah, the nuclei. I don't know. They're perpetuating it a lot in films. They're reinforcing it hard in films.
Yeah, on Wolverine recently, they show you a clip of the Nagasaki bomb going over, and he jumps down a well to show you the power of that Nagasaki bomb. It's like that's right up to the present day where they're permeating the myth. It's just for this generation to know, you know, how much fear you should be in. Cold War, yeah? That's when the alarm bell started ringing for me, when the wall come down. And basically, all underground bunkers abandoned. What? We still got the nuclear bombs. We still got 60,000 pointed at one another. Why are you getting rid of the bunkers and closing them all? It just made no fucking sense. Then I thought, hang on.
Yeah, it's just like this annual rinse we get for Trident. You know.
Yeah, no, that was a twin investment. Trident twinned with Cyber War, and it was a 90 billion investment. Check it out. Not 90, is it 90 billion, 90 million? Anyway, something fucking pathetically ridiculous that would save the entire of Africa figure.
So wait a second. So let's suppose that the nuclear bombs aren't real, the missiles aren't real, okay? But they take all of this money, and people say, hey, let's inspect those missiles. And they go, oh, shit, give us 2 weeks, okay? Now it's cyber warfare. Cyber warfare can just be a dude saying, I've done it, I've just fixed it all. You know, it's just bullshit. It's like,
look, I can see it, and
yeah, it's just like, oh, we need this much for cyber war. Oh, can you show us the cyber war? Yes, look at, see all these zeros and ones? It's just gibberish.
All of it, brother. Fucking Trident. I couldn't get near Fazlin. I tried. I was not far from it. I thought, I'm going to go and have a look at these nuclear subs, and I tried to get up. I couldn't even get near the area. So I couldn't tell you whether they exist or not. Well, I was apparently docked next to a Canadian nuclear submarine. And I believed that I heard the nuclear generator. Was it real? I don't know.
Well, our government's
I thought I could hear it all night long. I thought, that fucking nuclear generator, we're not going to radiate it. You know, thinking Thirsk, the submarine Thirsk. You know, right next to it was moored. The ropes were on it. I know.
Well, our government's just, I can't remember the figure, but, you know, they've just been on about getting all this money to update Trident. You know,
yeah.
We've got to update Trident. You've got to update
it makes no fucking sense.
That you've never let off. They had to be updated to the tune of X amount of millions. If I sell you a hand grenade, how do you know it works unless it goes off? You don't. You don't. It's simple.
I got one. I took it to school when I was 11. my grandfather brought it home from the war. I got a year, and I don't bring it up because of obvious reasons. And I took it to school. You want to ask my mother the trouble it cost? You won't believe it. It was only a test one, like, you know, a Mills grenade.
Yeah.
But, you know, could be primed. But yeah, man, I'm not going to go into that. Bad time.
Most people get caught for taking fireworks to school, Martin.
One step ahead.
My worst thing was the porn magazines when they pulled us on the stage in front of fucking 2,000 pupils and said, look at these dirty, perverted bastards. And not only that, when I had my ear pierced, the first kid in the school, they pulled me and my mate Nigel on the stage in front of the whole of the school and called us gay boys.
Really?
Imagine that in this day and age.
Wow.
They'd be in jail and we'd be rich. Telling you. Look at these gay boys with their earrings in. I was 11 years of age. Yeah.
Really?
Nobody had them. No one. Yeah, we were skinheads. And he said, "Look at these gay boys up on stage with their earrings." And he's pulling my earring like that.
So,
I'm going.
Oh, that makes all the pirates gays then.
Sorry, not man.
Pirates gays.
Well, I'm Captain Morgan. I'm from Wales. Captain Morgan was from 11 miles that way. One of the biggest slavers in history. Built a big mansion called Tredegar House on the slave money. Cardiff, one of the biggest slave ports in the world. Cardiff, Bristol, London, Liverpool. The slave ports for the world. All came out of here.
I never can look Blackbeard in the face now. I don't know.
He wasn't a bad guy. That's a fable. He wasn't a bad guy. All piracy was government funded. The East Indian Company was a pirate company funded by the government, and all they did was rip off ships, nick the booty, take it back to the crown, and share it at the end. All it is robbery. And it's still pretty much the same now.
The original pirates, the firebringers.
I've been done by pirates in Antwerp, in harbour. I spent the entire time asleep, bollock naked, with my ass sticking out of my cabin, with my cabin door open, while armed men were robbing the ship. And nothing happened to me. Full stop. All they said they were laughing at is when they went past my cabin in the morning, my ass is hanging out of the sheets in my cabin. I left my door open and got in my bunk. And they've robbed the ship. They've nicked the morphine. They've nicked the guns. They've nicked all the safe full of all different currencies. and they fucked off, some guys in Antwerp, and I was asleep through the lot. Never knew a thing. They left my money, left all my belongings, never come in my cabin. God love it.
Dude,
that's why I like a good pirate.
That is a powerful ass you've got.
That's just the stitches they were in the mud. It broke the whole thing. Instead of being depressed and crying about what we'd lost, or the captain had lost, the ship, the company, it was a family company on that one ship, and they were just laughing at me being naked, my ass hanging out, and the pirates on board, because I could have been raped, couldn't I, in reality? You know, but no, nothing happened. You're just laughing.
With them earrings
at me. Hey, look at that nutter. Drunk in bed. He's bunk. No. Funny.
Really good. Good story.
Yeah, no. He's mad at once, but I couldn't say him on air, Robert.
Yeah, we'll have to do that when we catch up again.
We will. Don't worry. There's years of them, brother, and I got in constant trouble. Constant.
As ornery as that sounded, why doesn't it surprise me that he's got more stories you wouldn't want to tell on there?
It's just I frightened to incriminate myself in any way. Not in a criminal sense. It's just like people might take wrongly construed what I say. It's like it's a mad world out there, as you know. And like if you're me, and I was getting shit, I get out of, you know. It's difficult to explain my life, Scott. It really is. It's a life less ordinary.
Can't everybody be Martin, can they?
Oh, brothers. Brothers from a different mother.
Listen, guys, I'm going to drop out. I'm going to be listening, but I'm going to get my head down.
Yeah, there's no problem. We're going to probably bring the show to an end in a few minutes anyway, so...
I've been doing it as well, Robert, as well. Going to bed earlier. And Antonio, get my shit together.
It's good, huh?
Yeah.
It's good
I'm waking up fresh, Ant. I'm thinking better. My thoughts are clearer. It's just this 5 o'clock when the sun comes up, and then get up at fucking 9. It's killing me off, brother.
Yeah.
Sleep is good, it's quite important. Yeah. But what I'll do is
keep it real, you know.
Lenny, Scott, Robert, Martin.
Take care, Antonio.
Say good night to you all, and see you later.
Yeah, take care, Antonio.
Yeah, man. See you later.
Hey, Antonio. Antonio, it's finally nice to actually talk to you. Peace, brother, man. Until next time.
What? Hey, do you know what, Scott? This is crazy, but I had a dream last night that I met you, and you had your hair down. It was long. It was crazy. And then today,
you gotta hear. I didn't cut it off.
Yeah, no, but I was thinking, hold on a second. Have I? I know, it was really nuts. It was weird, but yeah, absolutely a pleasure meeting you, man.
Awesome. Right, well, what I'll do is I want to say thank you for Hillbilly, Martin, Leaky, Martin Porter, and Lenny, and Ruben, and Antonio, and thank you for everyone that was watching, all the audience, subscribers. It's been a pleasure, and good evening, good night.